The term tractor boys used to be chanted by their opponents as a way of putting the team down for their farming background. But during one game back in the late 90s, Ipswich were 1-0 up and they decided to flip the script. 1-0 to the tractor boys, they sang, and a new nickname was born. Let's head to Leicester, famous for more than just a red, well, orangey cheese and Jamie Vardy. Leicestershire is also the birthplace of fox hunting, hence the Foxes. Next up, turns out apples are not the only fruit that don't fall far from the tree. Bournemouth's nickname, the Cherries, comes from the fact the club's stadium was originally built right next to a bunch of cherry orchards. This next story actually involves two club nicknames. It started with Crystal Palace. They were having an absolute nightmare run back in the early 70s. They'd been relegated after a terrible spell and manager Malcolm Allison decided enough was enough. He wanted a new nickname, something strong, fast and destined for success. Something exactly like an eagle. But there's more to this one. Brighton were in search of a nickname too, and Palace finally gave them what they needed. In a heated match between the two back in 1976, Palace fans began chanting, "Eagles, Eagles," and some clever Brighton fans came up with the perfect reply, "Seagulls, Seagulls." Not all club nicknames have a crazy story though. Take the Gunners. That just comes from the fact a group of munitions workers in the Royal Arsenal factory in Woolwich set up the club in 1886. On the flip side, some nicknames seem simple, but there's a bit more to them, like West Ham. The Hammers is actually nothing to do with the ham part of the name. It comes from the fact the club used to be called Thames Ironworks FC and was made up of workmen and shipbuilders. So next time the away end's chanting their crazy nickname, you'll now know exactly where it came from.
Good evening, this is Kick-Off here on talkSPORT with me, Natalie, Sawyer, Darren Lewis and Scott Minto. And what a Premier League weekend we've just had. Liverpool extend their lead at the top to 5 points with a win over arch rivals Everton. And yesterday, Arsenal and Manchester City drew at the Emirates. Loads to unpack from that game. Was Mikel Arteta too negative? Did Guardiola show us a new side to Manchester City? We'll discuss Chelsea as well. With all that money spent, should they be showing us more? And what's going on at Aston Villa? Unai Emery storming down the tunnel and claiming his team were lazy as well. Are the team still playing for him? Elsewhere, West Ham, well, that's another defeat for Graham Potter. Protests before that match. All is not well, it seems, at the London Stadium. You're more than welcome to get in touch, as always, on a Monday evening. You can give us a call on 03717 223344. That's also the WhatsApp number, and you can text us to 81089. Welcome along. This is Kick-Off on talkSPORT. Scott and Darren, how are you both?
No, I can't believe this. I've played with some big egos. Now, I'm not saying Darren has a massive ego, but the way he's literally just bowled in here,
flounced is the word you're looking for.
Flounced and just look, and it was almost regal, as if like his hand should be going like this.
That's right.
He's got the mentality of better late than never.
Absolutely,
yes. Listen, this is my stage.
I heard Simon Jordan turns up late. This is as close as you possibly can get.
Listen, he's here, and that's the main thing.
The king is here.
Indeed. But you're both well. Great weekend.
Really good weekend. Really good. Big matches. Liverpool, the big winners of this weekend. And already some managers looking over their shoulder at the bottom of the table as well.
Yeah, which we will get into throughout the show. Remember, the Ballon d'Or ceremony is also taking place tonight.
Can I do my little bugbear? I've been really badgering.
Crikey, he really is just taking over as soon as he walks in.
Oh my God.
You know that running order you've
gone out the window.
Listen, I love Cole Palmer to bits, to absolute pieces, right? But he's in the top 10. I think even Cole Palmer, to be fair, even he's so respectful, he speaks so well about other players, and even he would look at that and be very flattered, to put it diplomatically, that he is in the top 10 and Harry Kane is 13th.
Yes. Listen, It's a ceremony that's taking place tonight. You're very valid in what you're saying about Cole Palmer and Harry Kane, certainly. The top 10 yet to be revealed. Throughout the sort of last few hours, they've periodically been putting out from the 30 male candidates as it goes down to the top 10. So the top 10 stands. We don't know yet who the winner is. Ousmane Dembele, Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, Vitinha, Achraf Hakimi, Cole Palmer, as you mentioned there, Kylian Mbappe, and also Nuno Mendes. There's also Mo Salah and Gianluigi Donnarumma. A fair few PSG players, it's fair to say, making up that top.
They did win the treble, so
hey.
there should be a few.
I remember Jose Mourinho once saying, sorry to name drop, but I'm sure you'll be able to do that far better than I can.
I'll try.
So next 3 hours.
I've got 3 hours.
Yeah, well, indeed, exactly. But I remember him saying once that these big trophies generally go to the players who win the big tournaments, big competitions, and I think that'll be the case here.
Yeah, and I think Darren can be safe in the knowledge that we all love Cole Palmer, but I don't think he is going to be winning as tonight. So I think he'd be okay there. And 2, as another one who probably won't win it, but having played in a similar position, Nuno Mendes, I think he's won almost everything there is to win within the calendar year. So wonderful player, but he's a left back. It's not a sexy position.
I was going to say defenders. I think you'll go back to...
Well, Rodri won it last year.
Well, I was about to say, yes, that's true. But I think 2006, Fabio Cannavaro, last defender to won the Ballon.
When was the last left back to have won it? I wonder.
Yeah,
it's a good question, actually.
I don't think there is.
Sure.
That's my point.
That's the shame of it.
Paolo Maldini must have won it at some point, surely.
You'd have thought.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll keep right across it for you, and I'm sure throughout we'll even have our own say on who we feel should win it. But as always, we love to start the show, Darren, with our magic moments of the weekend. So what sort of hit you this weekend?
Liverpool, actually, and their first goal, because they're starting to play the kind of football that we know that they can play and that we expect a team with the components in that front six have. And I just look at the confidence and the charisma that they're starting to play with, and you just get the sense that they're really going to start to click this season. We haven't seen it yet, even though they spent nearly £500 million on that team. But you just know, looking at that first goal, the confidence it was scored with, and the manner that they're going to go on to play with, that would be my magic moment.
Okay. Go on.
Just that, and you mentioned the attacking six, and you wouldn't normally think about Ryan Gravenberch being an attacking player, and you talk about that goal, and you know where Rodri became the Ballon d'Or winner, because not only was he brilliant in terms of protecting his defence, not only was he brilliant in terms of making assists or the assist to assist, but he actually scored crucial goals as well. So we're almost doing everything. Gravenberch is getting towards that point.
I think so. I mean, lots of people said that Slot should have gone out and bought a number 6, but as soon as Gravenberch came back in, and even this season when he came back in, you could see the difference that he makes. And you're right, he is kind of a Rodri type player in so much as he's got that, and you know all about this, that ability to take responsibility in tight moments.
Yeah.
And the first goal of a game, so I always remember the great Martin Samuel writing about this quite some time ago, and I've nicked it off him, but he won't mind. Because sometimes when you've scored a lot of goals, sometimes people can forget that not many of them are the first goal, the crucial goal, the goal that turns the game in a match. And when a player can do that, that marks them down from a good goal scorer to somebody who is a game changer, if you like. And Gravenberch has that capability.
He's just name dropped in the world of football. He's name dropped in the world of football now,
This is what's going to happen tonight.
Honestly,
I can feel it already.
I'm 2-0 down already. I'm under pressure.
They'll be sending me the money for that one.
Come on then, Scott. What were yours from this week?
So I don't know how to phrase this, but it's almost the opposite of a magic moment. Although I actually feel a real affinity with the away day fan. So I worked for a broadcaster in abroad, basically. I'm trying to avoid, I don't know why I'm trying to avoid saying it, but it's Malaysia TV,
okay,
Astro TV. And travelled up on a day. I looked at the trains. I wanted to try and get the train, but there's no train back from Manchester. I don't know why. This is England we're talking about, but at that time. So drove up in the rain, especially once I got past Birmingham. 4.5 hours, parked up. Thank you to Paul Parker, by the way, and Darren at Hotel Football. They helped me get an unbelievable parking space.
So you were late as well?
No, I wasn't late. I pre-sorted this.
So you've dropped a few names there now.
Exactly.
Parker, yeah.
My toes are actually broken.
And,
here.
well-
all the names he's dropped on them.
And probably if you go to Hotel Football, Darren as well would be a big name there as well. So obviously it rained of biblical proportions.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, this is Manchester times 100, and we got absolutely soaked. To watch Chelsea kind of play like that, although I know we're going to talk about them a little bit later, but this is why I said from the start, even after winning the Club World Cup, this Chelsea side is not yet ready to win the Premier League, because to combine the Champions League and the Premier League is totally different to the Conference League and the Premier League. So I felt this was a good time to play Chelsea. United, again, it was proper old school. I was working with Danny Simpson, and we both were saying as fullbacks ourselves, the horrible cross coming in, the defending with it just skimming off the grass. And United started 100 miles an hour. Chelsea really didn't. United looked like they were going to win 11v11, but obviously after 4 minutes it was 11v10. And then of course I drove home in that rain, 4.5 hours soaking wet. So I got a new feeling of the away day fan. I can't say it was a completely positive one.
Okay.
But I feel a real affinity for this weekend.
I feel like I want to hug you.
No, Darren, all this
Do you not always feel like that?
All this
Darren?
has shown us is he's a pampered footballer.
Do you know what?
I've experienced it before.
And that shows the mentality of both of you. He wants to hug me, you want to put me down, honestly.
I like to set out my stall early, very much so.
You've done that.
It's going to be a long 3 hours.
Absolutely.
I'm going to quickly tell you about mine. And if you happen to be in Botswana next Monday, it is going to be a public holiday, declared by the president. That after the men's team won the 4x400 metre world gold at the World Athletics Championships, becoming the first African nation to do it. If you remember, in Paris last year, Letsile Tobogo won gold in the 200 metres, and that was the first time the nation had ever won an Olympic gold, incredible as it was. And so I just wanted to pick that out as my moment of the weekend, because when you create history like that, and they finished fifth in the medal table in comparison to the poor sort of outing of Great Britain, who finished 21st. That's mightily impressive
And not
for a
only
nation
that,
like Botswana.
I always love it when winning means something, whether it's to an individual, whether it's to a country. We're surrounded. In this country, there were many years when we couldn't win at Wimbledon, where we couldn't win in Europe, where we couldn't win. So many different things, and now we're used to it now. The work has gone in, the resource and the finance and whatever else. Countries like that, they don't have that resource. And it means a lot to them. And there isn't that complacency sometimes you see across Europe. There's a real genuine joy, and that genuine joy, we've lost that to some extent, but they still have that. It's brilliant.
I would use the word hunger.
Yeah,
they've got the hunger. And sometimes you can be too spoiled. I don't know enough about athletics to know whether we have been too spoiled, but I do know I've been listening to commentators saying it's been really, really poor, especially considering the facilities and the money that they get. So, no, I understand that completely. And just one final thing, I've been told by producer Connor that no left-back has ever won the Ballon d'Or. So, sorry, Nuno, I don't think you're going to win it tonight.
Let me ask you very quickly then, when you were playing, was the Ballon d'Or as big as it is now? Did it feel as prestigious as it might feel now?
Oh, there's an opportunity there for me to name drop. I remember when Ruud Gullit,
my toes.
Ballon d'Or winner, came to Chelsea, and we were told. The answer is no. I mean, obviously, it wasn't in my mind. I was just trying to get in the team. But when you play with someone like Ruud Gullit, and we were told when he first came to Chelsea, listen, he just wants to. He wants to get out the limelight, the Italian limelight. You know, he wants to live in London. He went into London one time, no one recognised him. He couldn't believe it, and he absolutely loved it. But his knees are gone, and he's only half the player that he used to be. Let me tell you, if he was half the player he used to be, I'm not surprised he won the Ballon d'Or, because he was still an amazing player. The second best player I ever played with.
Oh, go on, top.
I've set you up there, haven't I?
Yeah, we knew that was coming.
Di Canio 3, Gullit 2. Zola 1.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, not a bad 3.
But the most technical, Glenn Hoddle.
Yes. Yeah, many have said that.
I know you're going to move on. Just very quick. I remember I spoke to Michael Dubry only last week, and I asked him,
Great lad, dude.
Would his Chelsea beat this Chelsea? So I'll ask you the same question.
Ooh. Well, Dubes was a youngster coming through the ranks when I was there. I mean, look, we had a really good side with Zola, Gullit, Vialli. Robbie Di Matteo.
Stop right there. Yes.
Sorry. But I don't know. I think we finished 6th in that year we won the cup in '97. But I think this Chelsea side is going to be finishing above that, like they have. And
yeah, but I think anyone listening now will say there is no player in this Chelsea side on Zola's level or Vialli's level.
I think Cole Palmer's up there.
On Zola's level?
Yeah. I think Cole Palmer, he's got to be doing it for a few more years, but I think he's got the ability to. Franco was unbelievable. I mean, listen, we could talk. I know you got to go to a break, but Franco was so good when he first came. It was all the players that we had. It was almost like just give Franco the ball and let him do something. He was that good. And of course, when Diego Maradona sort of left Napoli, he said, "You don't need to go out and find someone. You've got my understudy." That was Gianfranco Zola. Wow. So when he says that, you know he's got an amazing talent and amazing guy as well as amazing talent.
Okay, hopefully that'll be enough of the...
I just want to say...
But I cannot guarantee it, I'm afraid. I just want to quickly also just round up some of the names that have already come out in this Ballon d'Or from the 30 candidates. Erling Haaland was 26. Declan Rice, I should say, was 27, and Virgil van Dijk, 28. Jude Bellingham, 23. Alexis McAllister voted in at 22. Scott McTominay, after his great year with Napoli, came in at 18th. And as you mentioned, Harry Kane, not in the top 10. Despite all his successes last year with Bayern, winning the title and winning his first major trophy and goals galore as well. He is 13th on the list. We will continue to update you on what is happening in Paris then for these Ballon d'Or awards, where, by the way, we could have an English winner. The female version. Alessia Russo, Leah Williamson, Chloe Kelly, Lucy Bronze. A fair few in the running for that one. OK, you're listening to Kick Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gambleaware.org. Good evening. This is Kickoff here on talkSPORT. Pleasure to have your company. And it is Darren Lewis, Scott Minto and me, Natalie Sawyer, with you until 10 this evening. There is a championship game taking place this evening. It's from the New Den. Millwall taking on Watford. You can tune into talkSPORT 2 if you want to listen into this one. Of course, the team news is out and Alex Crook has all the details for us.
Interesting selections from both managers. 3 changes for Millwall from their last championship lineup, including a debut for summer signing Tierno Ballon and a first league start for Derek Mazu-Sakho, who also comes into midfield. Joe Bryan at left back is the other alteration. 5 changes for Watford from the side beaten at Blackburn last time out in the championship. They hand a first ever league start to the Portuguese youngster Vivaldo Semedo. Papi Mendy, once of Leicester, also makes his full debut. Imran Louza, the captain, returns from suspension. Mark Boller and foremost Mendy also come in. So the 2 teams in full then. Millwall have Bender in goal, a back 4 of Leonard, Kramer, Cooper the captain and Bryan, Ballo, Luongo, Mazu-Sakho and Emaku in midfield, with Negley in behind, Josh Coburn in attack. As for Watford, Selvek the goalkeeper, they revert to a back 3, having started with a flat back 4 in that defeat against Blackburn. Kevin, Pollock and Elaine are the central defenders, with Boller the left wing back, foremost Mendy the right wing back, and then a midfield trio of Louza the skipper, Cipriano and Papi Mendy, with Semedo selected to partner Iran Kunda, who's been the one shining light for the Hornets so far this season, up front.
Alex Crook, thank you very much. If you want to listen in then to Millwall versus Watford, as I said, it's live on talkSPORT 2 and you can download the talkSPORT app and then swipe between the 2 stations. OK, it's time for us to bring you an odds update now with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Good evening, Alex Apati. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Natalie. You okay?
Yeah, very, very well. Thank you. Should we start with the game then that's live on talkSPORT 2? Millwall against Watford. How are you seeing this?
Yeah, Millwall, excuse me, sort of favourites. They're even money. Watford around 3-1 and the draw is 9-4. Bad start for Watford so far. Only won 1 this season and their record against Millwall isn't great either. They've won 1 of their last 6 against tonight's opponents. It's a bit of a weird fixture really. Right now on paper, a win for Millwall would put them around 8, should we say, level on points with 6, so in the playoff spots. But Watford, who you'd say have had a poor start, would go above Millwall with 3 points tonight. I suppose it is the nature of being so early in the season. But yeah, interesting one. Both teams to score is evens. It's happened in 3 of the last 4 meetings between these two, but it's probably priced that big because these are 2 of the lowest scoring sides in the division right now, 5 and 4 goals respectively. Alex Crook said Tierno Ballon starts for the hosts. He's 6-1 to open the scoring. Elsewhere though, Nestaroy Irankunda is 3-1 for a goal tonight. He's got 2 in his last 3. Could be worth a punt there. So the bet builder for me, I'll go with an Irankunda goal at any time. A Tristan Kramer card. He's already got 3 this season, and both teams to score, despite what I just said about neither of them being particularly great up front. That bet builder is 20-1.
OK, let's move on to what's may have changed the betting when it comes to the Premier League title race following the results at the weekend, Alex.
Yeah, it always tweaks a little bit, especially if any of those top sides drop points, which obviously happened this weekend. So Liverpool, perfect for them. 5 wins on the spin. City and Arsenal both dropping points, as did Spurs, if you want to throw them in, which I don't, but I will. as expected. It, as I say, it means we've cut odds to Liverpool. They're now even money themselves to win the league for the second year in a row. It could have been worse for Arsenal in the end, but I suppose the slight concern is 2 games now against Liverpool and City, and they've picked up just 1 point. They're 5 points off Liverpool. They're now 15-8 to win the title, so just shy of 2-1. What you would say in Arsenal's defence with that gap at the moment is that Liverpool aren't going to win every game of the season. At some point, they are going to drop points. I suppose then it's about how close Arsenal are to them when that does happen. City are already 8 points off the league leaders. Where are they? I think they're 9th in the league at the moment. Obviously, they'll be gutted with dropping 2 points yesterday in the end, and that gap is already becoming a big one to turn around for them. You feel they're now 6-1 to win the Premier League, and up next for them is Burnley at home. You would expect to win there. Elsewhere, Liverpool play Palace, a slight bogey team this weekend, if you like. They've only won 2 of their last 7 against Palace in all competitions. The massive one, though, is Sunday for me. I think Arsenal away at Newcastle, and it's crazy we're talking like this already, but more points dropped there could be awful for their title hopes, particularly as Liverpool play before them. So they could, in theory, be 8 points off top spot before kickoff.
I'm not sure I really want to ask the next question, but I'll quickly do it. Alex, what about the other end of the table?
Well, Brentford don't make my list anyway. You'll be pleased with that. Burnley are currently the most likely side to go down, despite 4 sides currently being below them in the table. They're 4-11. You look away now if you're a Wolves fan. The Wolves are currently 1-2 to go down. 0 points after 5 games. Nothing going right for them. The only positive you would say for them is they've got plenty of time to turn things around. And they would probably argue there are at least 3 teams who are worse than them in the division, but it's worrying times for the Wolves fans. Sunderland are 3rd favourites at 11-10, and I don't like that. I think they've lost 1 game this season. I mean, right now they're above Manchester City. If they keep this form up, they'll be safe by Christmas. I could see them staying up. So elsewhere, you've got, similar to Wolves, West Ham right in the mix. They're 6-4 to go down, and again, probably got enough about them to go on a bit of a run. Whether or not that's with Graham Potter obviously remains to be seen, but a couple of others. Yeah, we've got Leeds. Leeds look good at the moment. They are 6-4 to go down, and it's 3-1 or bigger the field. 3-1 being Brentford, if I must. I think if we were to assume that at least 2 of the promoted sides go down, I would go with Burnley, and I think I would go with Leeds over Sunderland at this moment in time. As for 3rd spot, it's a really tough one to say right now, but with my West Brom hat on, I'll go with Wolverhampton Wanderers, please.
I wonder why you've gone with them. Indeed. Alex, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. That was Alex Apati from Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gamblerware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gamblerware.org.
OK, on the way after the break, we will start to look back on what happened over the weekend in the Premier League. And first up, that game at the Emirates.
180 million worldwide, the biggest in the event's history. But how did singing and dancing get to be the centrepiece of America's biggest sporting event? The first Super Bowl was held in 1967. Initially, the halftime show was a display purely for the fans in the stadium, with marching bands, dancers and American patriotism for all to see. And that's what it was for the first few years. Disney had a go with a few questionable displays in the 1980s, but it wasn't until '93 that we got the first glimpse into the future of halftime shows. Michael Jackson's stellar performance gave NFL execs something to think about. A raft of massive names followed, including Diana Ross, U2, Janet Jackson, who gave us the most famous or infamous wardrobe malfunction of all time. So how many people are involved? To give you an idea of the scale, Rihanna's 2023 performance included 800 people, and experts reckon it cost $13 million. What's even more impressive than some of the names on the bill every year is the fact they do it for free. The artists know the exposure they'll get from doing the show will rocket them up the charts across the world.
Welcome to Kick-Off this Monday evening on talkSPORT. It is Scott Minto, Darren Lewis and Natalie Sawyer with you until 10, and we're going to start looking back over yet another eventful Premier League weekend, and it was all rounded up yesterday with that game at the Emirates, which was Arsenal 1, Manchester City 1. We're going to break this one up, if you don't mind, starting with Arsenal, and later on we'll focus on Manchester City. And last few games, in the sense of this one against City, the one at Liverpool, Mikel Arteta's been criticised for setting his team up too negatively. Darren, do you have a problem with that?
I don't. We are 5 games in, and Arteta's record against the Big Six is outstanding. 9 wins, 3 draws in the last 12 matches. And he's a guy who understands what he's up against. It's so easy to say, oh, this is the worst City side ever. They've got the capability in that front 6 to be able to find their way past any defence. And with Donnarumma at the back, with Rodri slowly getting his fitness, Scott can talk more to that in terms of how long it will take for him to get back to where he was. But to underestimate the power of that midfield and the supply line to Haaland, and this is what I'm talking about. People say, "Oh well, it's the worst Man City team since Pep's been there." They didn't too badly releasing Haaland for that opening goal, did they? They found a way to bypass all of the craft inside that Arsenal midfield, and I just think to deride Arteta for that is, to my mind, very unfair.
The problem is there'll be a lot of Arsenal fans that would have seen that lineup and would have thought, this is our chance to go at City, at our home. It's different maybe when you go away. You can argue that sometimes you do mix it up when you're away from home. But can you understand why some fans might look at it and go, well, that already on paper looks as though we're sort of settling for something, maybe rather than going to win it?
So Darren's shaking his head. So
Yeah.
I'm ready for a bit of debate here.
Oh, go on then.
Look,
I'll get me popcorn out.
If we look at the Liverpool game, I couldn't agree more in terms of you're going to Anfield, the most difficult place that there is to go, the home of the champions. People have sort of said, oh, you haven't picked an attacking side. But actually, if you remember, they were the better side in that first half. So he could argue, actually, that team selection was good. The next 5 or 10 minutes after half-time was about 50-50. Then Liverpool took over for 15 minutes. But he made 2 substitutions at 0-0, Odegaard and Eze. And it was just one piece of brilliance that could have happened from either side that decided it. So it's real disappointing to lose, because you don't want to be losing against your direct rivals, but understandable in my point of view. In terms of at the weekend, I know what Darren's saying, and look, I've waxed lyrical about Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. No team in the history of English football has ever won 4 straight top-flight titles in English football. Not Bob Paisley, not Sir Alex Ferguson. You go back to the 1930s. That's never happened. 3, but not 4. But look, the empire has fallen. We've spoken about this before. The emperor's still there, but the emperor is rebuilding a new empire. And I was at Brighton a few weeks ago, and they were 1-0 up. And actually, Erling Haaland should have got a hat-trick in that first half. but they were vulnerable on the counter-attack. It's disrespectful to say this is a poor City side, but it's nowhere near the side of where they were. That you could argue, or someone could argue, it's the greatest club side English football scene.
Let me ask you this. Say they did, excuse me, come out and go for, as you say, you weren't being disrespectful, but a below par City side. I would suggest maybe a City side that is still finding their stride, because this isn't an ageing City side. He's rebuilt the team.
Absolutely.
Reinders is in there. Foden is back after being out and out of form for most of last season.
You mentioned Rodri on the night of Ballon d'Or as well.
Exactly.
He's still getting back to his very best. And even O'Reilly playing and learning how to play in the first team,
and
out of position.
So my point is,
it means business now. He's taking it
steady. My point is that if Arsenal had gone for City and City were able to take advantage of the space in behind that Arsenal would invariably leave in doing so, who's going to win if it becomes a fist fight? It's going to be City. City will outscore Arsenal. City will outscore Arsenal.
That could be,
I mean,
that
if
could
you
be
think
argued.
if you think about the space that they left in behind for Haaland to score, and I'm watching Gabriel running through treacle trying to catch him up, and I'm thinking to myself, if you want to come out and play, City, they might not be the force. Or sorry, I keep saying might not be the force. They might be taking their time to find their stride with this new sort of team, if you like. But they still do have that scoring capability.
Yeah, but Darren, I mean, by the way, I've run in that treacle a few times. So I know where Gabriel was coming from. But it's not black or white. It's not either this or that. When going for it doesn't mean to say you're playing 11 men, and going forward the whole time and leaving space in behind. It's just actually a mentality. It's a mentality of not just team selection. I mean, people talk about Eze should be in there, and I agree. And I've been a big fan from when I was covering him on the Championship in QPR, and I could see the talent that he had, and I had him in COVID years in my Championship team of the season, and I thought this kid, and I love his backstory as well, the fact he's so resilient.
But Scott, you're talking about his individual quality.
No,
and I'm talking about as a team. These teams at this level, you're talking about
people aren't
units.
even talking about Miles Lewis-Skelly, and I think even that is a statement of where Mikel Arteta is coming from in terms of. Actually, we've got someone who's naturally a midfielder, but has already shown he can be a left back, and I think he can win 100 caps for England at left back if that's where he decides to end up. But the fact you've got Calafiori, who's not as good going forward, I think again, just little things where people see that maybe a Calafiori can't, but a Lewis Skelly can, and Eze playing instead of Marino, for example, and I get the argument of Marino knows Rodri, but actually again. Go on the front foot. It doesn't mean to say you're going all-out attack, but it does mean there's a mentality. I remember covering a game for talkSPORT a couple of seasons ago at Stamford Bridge, and Arsenal thrashed Chelsea 1-0. I mean, it was a 1-0 thrashing, and the football was just amazing. But it's not about the football. It's about winning, finding a way to win. And I wonder whether Mikel Arteta. I don't necessarily see him as like a Gareth Southgate, but the longer sometimes things go on and the more pressure you feel, the more pragmatic you become, and you're not actually as free-flowing. I listened to Roy Keane after the game saying about the two main managers he played for were gamblers. Brian Clough, they were his word, gamblers. And he didn't mean off the pitch, and he didn't mean absolutely going for it, but he meant grasp the nettle, find a way to win, stick players up front if you need to. And I look at the tennis players, just as he was saying that, before he was saying that, I was thinking to myself, I don't know if it's a good analogy or not, but you look at the top tennis players, it's an individual sport, and it's very different, of course it is. But even if they're match point down, let alone a match point up, they go for that baseline.
I think
they go for to win. And there's not a fear of failure. And I wonder whether now Mikel Arteta, and it's very easy to have a go at him. And I've been a big fan of him, and I'm not saying in any way necessarily even if they don't win a trophy, as long as they come close, I'm not saying that he should go. What I am saying is, in answer to your question earlier, we will never know if he picked an attacking side, because at the moment he doesn't seem to do it. And I think there'll be less comeback from the Arsenal fans, and I'm no Arsenal fan, that if at least he said, well, at least we gave it a go, and it hasn't worked.
See, I think that in the current climate, and I see this all the time with Arsenal, it's been so long since they've won the league that there is an understandable anxiety when they don't win games, they feel they have the right to win. But I don't think with any Pep Guardiola side, you can believe you have the right to win. And certainly with this reconfigured side, with the confidence of Donnarumma in goal, with Rodri back, and even though he isn't where he wants to be, he's still some player. I look across, we've got the two teams in front of us here, and I look across the four behind Haaland, and every one of those players has a scoring capability. Foden, Silva, Reinders, Doku, who's in great form at the moment, as well as Haaland, as well as Rodri. We talked about his ability to be able to get big goals in crucial moments. So I said, listen, you guys as ex-pros, I listen and very often we're educated by you guys, but I still don't think that means that it's necessarily a heresy to be able to say, to go against the grain and say that this belief that Arsenal could have come out and gone for it against a City side that have goals right across that front six. I just can't. Yeah, I just can't go with it. Along with that,
I just go back to, it's not a one or the other. It's not at this end of the spectrum or the other. It's somewhere in between. But you set the tone, the standards, the culture by one, the team you pick, two, the way the training goes as well, and then three, he did make substitutions but he kind of had to. I mean, Madueke is injured, so Saka coming on is...
I don't mind that, but I think about this Arsenal team in any way, right? And I think about the buying policy of the team. He's not just brought in Christian Mosquera, who has been able to deputise for Saliba when he was injured. He's also brought in Hincapié as well, who's another terrific defender. You talk about the fact that he's played Calafiori instead of Lewis Skelly. I wonder if that's because he wants to be able to address the set-piece threat. You cannot have Miles Lewis Skelly up against an Erling Haaland, for example.
Well, you don't put him up against an Erling Haaland.
Yeah, but there have been occasions when they've played each other in the past.
They've got enough big players.
They've had beef before.
But again, that even in itself is a mentality then. You're worried about your defending set piece rather than actually attacking and open play.
You should be. Why have they got the best defence in the Premier League? Because he thinks about all these things. They've had it for the last 2 seasons.
And they're falling short going forward.
And that's why he's bought SA, and that's why he's bought Gyökeres, and that's why he's bought Madueke. And that buying policy has been vindicated because when Saka was injured, there wasn't the anxiety there has been in the past. In the game against Liverpool.
Totally agree.
Listen, Kai Havertz isn't available. There isn't anxiety about him because they've got Gyökeres. So the buying policy actually has been good. But I think he's going to say to himself, I'd rather win with 1-0s and clean sheets than go out and play this free-flowing football. I think I've got the attacking potential to be, even if it's 1-2 goals in a game, and I can just shut up shop.
But he hasn't.
Well, he hasn't done that, but he's paid a lot of respect to Man City. That's why.
But I go back to the Liverpool game. That should have been really a draw. I think but Liverpool found a way to win, and actually it is quite scary that Liverpool are finding a way to win still now, and they're probably in maybe second, maybe third gear. So
well,
therefore, after what happened at Anfield,
free kick,
absolutely, and I'm with you on that, 100%. But off the back of that, City at home, you have to go for it a little bit more. You have to win that game if Arsenal are to challenge a Liverpool side that are winning without even playing well. And just final one on finishers. Talk about finishers, and finishers is a nice way of saying, look, you're not quite good enough to start, or I don't feel in terms of.
Oh, I
game,
like the term finishers, though. I
think he's got a big career
very
in politics ahead of him.
Yeah,
and
very diplomatic. Big spin.
They're very, very, very important. More important in football than ever before.
Yeah.
Erling Haaland would be a great finisher. Can you imagine coming off the bench, 30 minutes to go, you're tired. Erling Haaland. Why isn't he coming off the bench of 30 minutes? Because he's an absolute world-class talent. You need your best players to be on the pitch from the first minute. And also, if things aren't going well, the finishes are irrelevant. If you're 2-0 down, 3-0 down, it's irrelevant.
I think if they lost that game, if as people have been saying they should have come out, you've been saying they should have come out and gambled, taken a risk. If that risk hadn't paid off, if they hadn't come away with that game with a point,
Arsenal fans would take that.
Arsenal fans would have hammered him.
They would
hammer him. I've seen the pattern of Arsenal fans.
Well, it's a question. No, it's a question.
I'll tell you why they'd have given him some stick. Liverpool won the title last season, losing 2 matches, 6 points surrendered. Yeah. Arsenal right now are 5 points behind. That's retrievable. Yeah. 6 points. They would have been 6 points ahead had they won. Now, that's not retrievable. My maths is letting me down. Let me see.
What are you trying to say?
If Arsenal had won,
they would be on 12.
Sorry, if Arsenal had lost,
okay, they'd be on 9.
They'd be on 9.
So they would be 6 points behind.
They'd be 6 points behind. I thought I was losing my mind there. And
I told you, I'm not good at maths.
And here's the thing. I think as far as Liverpool are concerned, Liverpool are only going to get better, right? Arsenal can improve as the season goes on, right? But they are within range, and it's not the end of the world. We are in September. Let's give Arteta a chance.
Sorry, Nat, one sentence.
Go on.
Liverpool lost 4 games last season, so did Arsenal. Arsenal drew far too
By
much.
the time, by the time Liverpool won the last,
I've run out of popcorn.
they
Stop.
would have won the league.
Okay,
Stop it.
but
Stop it.
Arsenal drew too many games. They need to attack and find a way from the draw to a win. Can we carry on in the break?
Yes, you can carry on in the break, and you can carry on after the break, because we'll carry on talking about that game of the Emirates, but maybe focus a little bit more on the City side of things. But Arsenal fans, it'd be great if you want to message in this evening. Let us know what you made of that lineup. Was it too cautious? Would you have preferred a gung-ho approach, even if it meant you had lost, for example? All right, not gung-ho. What, one way or the other?
In between.
Somewhere in between then. All right. You just say it then. You ask the question. Go on, Scott. Ask the question.
Just give us your opinion, Arsenal fans.
Just there you go.
What did you want to see? And would you have taken it if they had have picked the 11 that we're all saying and they had a loss?
Okay, right. You know how to get in touch. Please do. We'll talk about City next. My goodness. Welcome along. This is Kick-Off on talkSPORT. Thank you very much for joining us. Darren Lewis, Scott Minto and Natalie Sawyer with you. We're still talking.
We've got the calculator out with the maths.
The problem is Darren keeps getting his question wrong. So I'm like, I don't even know what you can ask. If who had won or who had lost? What was your question? If Arsenal had lost?
If Arsenal had lost and Liverpool had won.
Which they did.
So if Arsenal lost, they would have been on 9 points.
Yes. If Arsenal
we're still working out the question.
They'd be on 9 points, Arsenal.
Yeah, so it'd be 6 points to go.
Yes, that's what we said. Let's move on, because this is...
And City would have been 6 points as well, so we'll talk about them.
I love that team.
Oh dear, it's the only time I might get a maths question right. Let's talk about Manchester City then. Because obviously they took a very early lead in that game at the Emirates yesterday with Erling Haaland, who's just continuing his prolific nature as he always does. But then they considered that late equaliser when Martinelli scored after dinking Donnarumma. It was quite interesting to see the second half tactics of Manchester City, a very different tactic, not something we've sort of seen from City really before, Darren.
No, and again, I think it down to one word, respect. I think Arsenal now are a far better balanced side than we have seen probably since Mikel Arteta took over. And this is Pep Guardiola really respecting that fact, really respecting the fact that in Madueke and Trossard, Trossard scored the other day against Atletico Madrid. He's not some random player that Arteta's thrown in there. And Madueke's really surprised some people with the way that he has deputised for Bukayo Saka. Gyökeres has scored, I think, in 2 of the 3 previous games ahead of the match. And then in midfield, you've got Marino, who knows where the goal is. Zubimendi's world class, won the European Championship, and you've got Rice alongside him. So I think while City is still trying to find their stride, they're showing respect to Arsenal's ability to get back into the game. And I don't have any problem with him parking a bus. So often we say that managers don't show that adaptability. We've been slaughtering Ruben Amorim.
Well, I was thinking the same, yeah.
And that's exactly what he did against Arsenal.
But in some ways, it shows that even one of the best tacticians in world football can sometimes go for the 5-5-0
for me, I just
formation.
We're not where we want to be at the moment. We can't go toe-to-toe with Arsenal. So let's try and ride this out, get the points, get out of Dodge.
That's exactly what I think he was thinking.
Okay.
Like we don't know unless he comes out and said it. But you've just summed up what my thoughts were, which make it even more that Arsenal should have gone for it. Because, again, not being disrespectful to City, but this is, should we say, the least best City side for, 6 or 7 years. This was a great opportunity for Arsenal to not just stay on Liverpool's coattails, but also beat the other major rival that we think could go on a run and actually win the title, even though they are rebuilding. This is Pep Guardiola. This is not Pep Guardiola as we've ever known it. I covered Spanish football for 4 years, and he wasn't there for the full 4, but I know enough about what Barcelona, what he represents, and that was. I don't want to use the word anti-Pep Guardiola, but that was exactly him being flexible, adaptable, and realising that we cannot compete with this Arsenal side. We are now rebuilding a new empire, and hopefully it will happen in the next year or so, but we can't go to Arsenal and do what we do and dominate in the way that we did. I saw a really good quote from Mourinho, actually, saying, we're in a generation where we see coaches trying to do things that just don't work and they die. But they say, I died, but I died with my idea.
Yeah,
my friend, if you died with your ideas, you are stupid. So it's a brilliant Mourinho quote, but this was almost Pep being Mourinho, understanding we cannot go toe-to-toe. We cannot do my philosophy against Arsenal because we will not win. So I like it. If you've got Pep Guardiola adapting from his usual style, then maybe we'll get half the world's coaches almost doing the same thing as well, because, they've been copying him enough for the last half a decade or so.
Something that Bernardo Silva said afterwards as well is that he felt his side were at a disadvantage because they'd played on the Thursday in the Champions League, whereas Arsenal played on the Tuesday. Did that have any bearing on how it ended up?
He didn't have to pick the same 11.
No.
And he picked the same 11
that is fair.
third time running.
That's
and the
true.
other thing is, at the end of last season, time and again, you had Guardiola saying, I want a smaller squad. Yeah. Time and again, didn't he? I want a smaller squad. Got loads of players out. We obviously worked on the basis that maybe he was going to be promoting more players than he did. O'Reilly, obviously, a very good player. He's got Oscar Bob's terrific, as we all know. I want a smaller squad. So it's now hard for him, for his players to come out and hammer the schedulers, hammer the other teams, hammer UEFA, whoever else, because he himself has said he wants a smaller squad. I was mystified when he said it because, you know, we've all watched football. Everyone listening is watching our football to know that the English football calendar, well, world football's calendar is punishing. It's excruciating. You only have to look at the players he lost last season to be mystified by what he is saying. And it's going to take some time for the likes of Nico Gonzalez and Kusanov and Vitor Reis and all of the other players that he's brought in to get their feet under the table. So why would you want a smaller squad? And when you have one, why are you moaning?
Yeah. He also said it as well as it was just before the World Club World Cup, wasn't it? So you've got another major tournament that's not happened before. So they're already, was it the Euros the year before? So his players are now going another year without having time off, as it were. And he's asking for a smaller squad. Look, I love everything that Pep Guardiola represents. I don't mean to say that I agree with everything he says. He can't argue with the schedule. He definitely can't argue with the schedule after picking the same 11 for the third time running. You know, the bench and he may have some people that are injured that perhaps he could have done.
He has a few injuries.
But he's still got enough quality there to have made some changes, 2, 3, maybe even 4
And to be fair to him, you know, I'd more want to listen and learn from him. Why do you want a smaller squad? I'd like to be educated like that. You know,
he alluded to it, didn't he? He said it was because he doesn't actually like leaving players out of certain competitions. That's what he said.
But that maybe sounds a bit like when referees, before the introduction of VAR, they wanted to slaughter managers. They'd slaughter referees and say they need help, don't they? Because they didn't want to say what they really wanted to say, you know. And I think that as far as Guardiola is concerned, he obviously wants to be diplomatic about leaving players out. But the idea that you could have a smaller squad, well, we're seeing already the impact it's having on the City team, and we'll see even more.
Well, you said it at the start, perhaps the biggest winner from that result was Liverpool yesterday. And we'll talk about that Merseyside derby and the fact that they remain unbeaten with a 100% record next.
interchangeably to describe Premier League bosses, but they're actually two different jobs. So let's explain how and why. For years, fans referred to Mikel Arteta as Arsenal's manager, but I'm afraid technically...
I don't think so, no.
From his first day on the job, he was the Gunners' head coach. Let's pick a random moment in time, February 2025. Only 6 Premier League bosses actually held the official title of manager rather than head coach. Man City's Pep Guardiola, David Moyes of Everton, Ipswich boss Kieran McKenna, Southampton's Ivan Juric, Oliver Glasner at Crystal Palace and Leicester's Ruud van Nistelrooy were the only actual managers of their respective teams. Everyone else? That's right, head coach, including Ruben Amorim at Man United. He took over from Erik ten Hag, a man who had held the title of manager. Might come as a surprise that Amorim's appointment marked the first time ever that Man United had a head coach instead of a manager. But to understand why they made that decision, you also have to get what the difference is between a head coach and a manager. A manager's got a huge range of responsibilities. They're not just in charge of training and player lineups, they're also heavily involved in player sales and transfers. Critical stuff. But a head coach's role is far more focused on team training and performance on the pitch. So whereas Ten Hag was highly involved with decisions around transfers during his tenure, the intention was that Amorim wouldn't be, at least not on the same level. And as the sporting structure at Man United changed under Sir Jim Ratcliffe, people like Sir Dave Brailsford took charge of transfers instead. How all those roles play out in practice may be slightly different at different clubs though. On the other hand, the contracts of actual managers like Pep or Moyes had no limits on their job role and their involvement with transfers and contracts. But those guys are actually in the minority now, and it's a change that's happened pretty quickly. In 2019, there were only 6 head coaches in the Premier League, but by 2025, there were 14. A clear indication that more and more clubs are moving towards a model where the guy in charge is actually only really in charge on the pitch. And the way things are going, it might not be long before all 20 clubs have got head coaches, and the job position of football manager in the top flight is no more.
Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Kickoff. And it is Scott Minto, Darren Lewis and me, Natalie Sawyer, with you until 10 this evening. We're keeping right across the Ballon d'Or, which is about to get underway. And did you know, you mentioned him earlier, Ruud Gullit is co-presenting it.
Is he?
Yes.
His knees haven't given out.
His knees, he can still stand.
Yeah.
Ka-ching, I think, is part of that reason.
Absolutely. Probably still be in the top 100 if he kicked the ball.
Well, you never know. Yeah. But he is part of the hosting team. So, as I say, we'll keep across it for you and bring you all the details. We are into the top 10 when it comes to the men's side of things, and a fair few lionesses are up for the female equivalent as well. But we're going to start this out by talking Liverpool, who are top of the tree. They have won 5 out of 5, and their latest victors were Everton in the Merseyside derby, a game that they won 2-1. And Darren, you sort of summed them up already to a degree, that they're not playing at their best.
No.
Yet they're still grinding out, it's not the right word, but they're still getting results.
Yeah, they are.
Which must be ominous for everybody else.
This is the worry. I mean, listen, to be fair, you would expect them to be where they are, given they've spent nearly £500 million in the summer transfer window. And what they've done is they've said to Slot, you've won with somebody else's team, now we're going to rip it up and build your team for you. It's interesting, actually, the minute they made the inquiry for Isak, I was like, we've all, listening, watching, whatever, we've all seen enough football to know how that kind of thing plays out. And the fact that they were able to win without him even starting the match, you know, he's able. They're still trying to give him his minutes for him to get fitter. Wirtz is nowhere near where they want him to be either. Excuse me. I think there are levels for this team to reach, and I would suggest they're probably about 35% of the way there now.
What do you think of it then? Are you thinking this is a foregone conclusion then, the way that they're going?
Not foregone conclusion, we are too early. And I would go with a higher percentage than Darren, but I agree with his sentiment. I think it is quite scary. This Liverpool side that haven't clicked. You took on an individual, and not just going forward, but from a defensive point of view. Still conceding goals. I know they only conceded 1, but up until recently needed 3 to win a game, but they were getting the 3. Kirkus, for me, has taken his time settling in. Right back is still, no one sort of put the hand up and said, I'm going to be the... You can't follow Trent in the same way, but I'm going to be the next Liverpool right back on a regular basis. And yet they are finding ways to win. I think it is quite scary because if they do click, and it's not an easy thing to do because on paper they've improved on a side that really dominated the Premier League last season. But actually, it's not easy just to say, OK, you've got these players in, you've spent this money, now go and win by even more points. It just doesn't happen like that, normally. But you look at the table so far, and with them not playing well, the other teams, their rivals dropping points. We talk about Manchester City. Let's not forget, that's probably not, even though they conceded late on, it's not a bad point. They probably would have taken that at the start of the game at the Emirates. But they've already lost twice this season. And they can't afford to be doing that. Home to Tottenham, away to Brighton. Liverpool are they're finding ways to win, and they have this mentality that's absolutely not luck at all. No. They can't keep on doing it late on, but the top teams do it. Liverpool did it in the 70s and 80s. United did it in the 90s and the noughties. And this Liverpool side are doing it again now. I mean, City, when they're in their prime, they just dominated from the start. They were that good. But this side is getting to know each other. Isak is not 100% fit. The same Ekitike is not 100% fit. Mo Salah, up until the last maybe couple of games, has not been on form, and yet he's still scoring and making assists. There's Cody Gakpo there as well. Gravenberch, just touched on already, is fast becoming the most important midfielder, not just at Liverpool, but in the Premier League. This is quite scary.
Obviously, Ekitike, as you mentioned, he started this game with Isak on the bench. Now, when Isak is match ready as such from the start, what's going to happen? Is he going to prefer Isak over?
Well, both of them bring different things to the table. When I watched Isak in the Champions League in midweek and at the weekend, it's his link play that, to me, gives him the edge over Ekitike. But I can see a set of circumstances where they both play.
With Ekitike on the left, potentially.
Maybe, yeah. Really, he can configure it however he wants to. But I think they're both intelligent enough to make it work. And then you don't know where the threat is coming from, because obviously Wirtz knows where the goal is, Gakpo knows where the goal is, Salah knows where the goal is. And I think what he has succeeded in doing is saying to the opposition, now you don't know what the point of attack is going to be. Now you can't read us in quite the same way you could when we had Salah scoring all the goals.
Yeah, and you almost kind of knew the 11 more or less last season. You're not going to know that now. And until that team sheet comes in, it's like, right, okay, how do you plan for that going forward? Do you plan for Isak and Ekitike? I know what you're saying about they're both good enough players. I don't think they will play many times together, personally.
Why do you think?
I think because they're very similar players in the same position. And I think Cody Gakpo is an excellent player. I think he's underrated, actually, on the left-hand side. We know Salah is going to be playing all the time. Wirtz, just purely with the amount of money that's been spent, will be given the opportunity to show what he can do, and we know the potential he has.
Do you not look at games like, for example, at the weekend, and I don't think they would go into it with anything other than the utmost professionalism, despite the opposition, but they got Sunderland at home, I think it is on Sunday. And that could be an opportunity to maybe go. Is it Sunderland at home?
No,
Southampton
they've got Palace. They've got Palace.
Palace away.
Sorry, Southampton. Southampton
That's
in the cup.
Yeah.
That's the one.
They'll make changes.
Would they look at?
Sure.
Because he's already said he'll make changes for that match, right? So could it be the case that he would look at that game and think, I'm not going to take Southampton for granted, but let me try and experiment. Let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can give maybe half an hour to two strikers and see how they link up together.
Can I be really controversial? I don't think it's too controversial to be saying we're not going to take Southampton for granted. I mean, with the greatest of respect, they are finding their feet in the Championship. So I think this is the perfect time if you want to. And he's saying about they're not 100% fit yet. So if you want to see if it can work, and even if it doesn't work too well, they still should be good enough to beat Southampton. And even if it's that bad, they'll have enough people coming off the bench to make sure that they get through. It's at Anfield. It's not at Southampton. So I don't see there being a problem. This would be the perfect opportunity to do that because you can't mess around too much in the Premier League. I know they're 5 points ahead, but you can't just drop 2 points just like that.
No. This is the
Champions League is the same as well at the moment, so this is the game to.
Why I said Sunderland.
So that's when is that? That's tomorrow, in fact, that they play in that League Cup tie, and then they've got Palace away. And when you consider how well Palace has started and this unbeaten run that stretches back to last season, 17 games.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be taking Palace lightly.
No,
I
can't.
It's part of the reason why I think they will look at this game. I almost wonder. He might start with a strongish lineup. It won't be anywhere near the same as the other day, but he's got such a strong squad that he can play players, and then maybe once he's got the game won, then he can see if he can give minutes to the two strikers together. But they will want to be on point for Palace because they know now that Palace are very, very strong in all areas of the pitch.
Yeah. 23rd time that David Moyes has gone to Anfield and not come away with all 3 points. But their second half display will be encouraging, certainly for David Moyes. But we should pick up on the strange booking that was given to Kiernan Dewsbury Hall and what you both...
a free kick.
Taking it too quick?
Taking
it too quick when the referee wasn't ready. It's not... we looked it up. It's not really within the laws that you should... There is a booking for something of the nature of taking a free kick even quickly. But what it could be down to is displaying unsportsmanlike behaviour.
Bang out of order. How dare they take a quick free kick?
Send him to the gallows.
You're at Anfield. You can't be doing that. I'm sorry. No.
It's bizarre, though, isn't it?
It is. From what I remember, when referees used to say, look, if I tell you you have to wait, then you wait, and then there's the opportunity to do that. But why are they telling them to wait in the first place? And I'm assuming they didn't because no one's come out and said, well, yeah, the ref did tell us to wait, or the PGMOL are actually coming out and saying something either. It's just ridiculous. And, I do feel for Everton. I talk about name dropping, I'll name drop here. I'm a patron of a kiddies charity, and we played golf up in Chester. And we had David Moyes as a Q&A, and he was absolutely brilliant. And when you get a real feeling that the fans with their manager are as one, that there's a lot of clubs in the Premier League that don't have that right now. Let me tell you, Everton do. And it was really interesting what he was saying about in terms of the transfer window. He wanted to try and get a lot more players in, but almost those sort of European players, those players that want to be playing in the Europa League or maybe even the Champions League, still look at Everton as a team trying to, get away from the relegation zone. They almost need one season of mid-table mediocrity to show that actually that's the past now.
I don't think what you're saying is pie in the sky, because when he got to West Ham, that's exactly what he said to a group of us journalists after a press conference. He said, I don't want to get players who are coming for a payday anymore. I want to get younger players. I want to get players who are half decent on the continent, who can come into this club and raise the level. And I do think that's what he's trying to do with Everton. And if you think about West Ham since he left, they're now probably looking for their fourth manager potentially in a year since he's left, because maybe they didn't appreciate what they had. I know the ownership did, but maybe aspects of the fan base perhaps not.
Grealish, very good signing. Dewsbury Hall, very good signing. You've got Njai there as well. Perhaps the centre forward is not quite there. I like Garner, and he's not a left back, so Mikolenko coming back into fitness, I think, is a big thing. Jordan Pickford, he's so underrated. He's just the number one for England without anyone even questioning it. So they've got some very good players in there, and as I say, if they can just get that one season where they're not flirting with relegation, I genuinely think it's a massive club, isn't it? We're old enough to remember, them back in the 80s and how good they were. I'm not saying they will get back to there in the near future, but it's just a massive, massive club with incredibly passionate fans and a new stadium that's just waiting to kick on.
I was a mere babe in arms back then.
You were.
But you're right. It's interesting when you mention as well, as we're going to take a break in just a moment, about the players that you aim for in a transfer window, who actually... The Premier League obviously has a huge, huge draw for any player, but to play in Europe and any European competition, that's still a big draw in itself as well. So sometimes you can't just rely on the fact, well, we're in the Premier League.
No.
I think Brentford have been sort of stunned by that at times during a few windows when they thought we're centred in our player, and they turn around and they reject us because we don't have European football to offer.
There we go. She got the bees in.
and that's all we'll mention. We won't talk about a West London derby.
I've got a mate I went to school with. I hope he's not listening. And we used to have a thing. He could always get Tottenham into any conversation. We'd challenge him, and honestly, anything you were talking about, you could be talking about a budget. He'd get Tottenham.
Not even a hard challenge, is it?
World class at that.
You're listening into Kick-Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. Gambleaware.org. Good evening. This is Kick-Off on talkSPORT with Darren Lewis, Scott Minto and me, Natalie Sawyer. Just to bring you some news just reaching us from the Ballon d'Or. Lamine Yamal has won the 2025 Copper Trophy, and the Copper Trophy is for the best player under the age of 21. Vicky Lopez is the Barcelona midfielder, and she has won the Women's 2025 Copper Trophy. And we are going to keep you right across everything that happens at this 2025 Ballon d'Or, with a whole host of players still waiting to find out who will win who'll be named the outright winner. Go on.
Is Darren's vote of Cole Palmer is he still in it?
It's still in it.
Okay.
At this moment, I don't think we've got to the top 10 as such. Okay. I don't think we've broken that down yet. But once we get there, we will find out. Also, to let you know, Millwall are 1-0 up against Watford in the Championship. You can tune into that one live on talkSPORT 2. And I should say that in France, the rearranged game between Marseille and PSG is an hour old. Marseille leading this one by 1-0. This one was cancelled from yesterday.
Bad weather.
How quickly they rescheduled it for today. Pretty mad.
It will never catch on.
No, definitely not. But there'll be a number of PSG players then who will not be at this award ceremony, although Ousmane Dembele is injured, so you can expect to see him there.
But he's not even starting because he's injured, yeah.
Yeah, just said what I said, Darren. Thanks. Okay, off you go. Off you pop. Shall we look back at Chelsea's loss at Manchester United?
No.
No? Okay. Is that how we sum it up?
Let's move on.
Come on now. No, seriously, though. Let's talk about it in the sense of...
I'll just read the paper.
Would you like to have a little rant, Scott?
No, it's not a rant as such. Look, I think people can always throw the amount of money that's been spent at Chelsea and say, well, you should be in this position and even better. And I get that 100%. But I think if you look at the complete change of philosophy that's gone on in the last 3 years between Roman Abramovich, ready-made, world-class stars, senior pros with a world-class senior manager, to completely the opposite. And I've been critical of the owners, and I think they've spent far too much, but also they're not bad sellers, are they?
No.
Over 350 million they sold in the summer window. I just think I think it's coming together, and I wanted Pochettino to be given time. He wasn't given time. I wanted Maresca to be given time, and hopefully he will be given time. And if you think about the last 6 or 7 months, where they should be winning the Europa Conference League, I think any Premier League club should be winning that particular third tier of European competition, but especially Chelsea with the money they have spent. To finish fourth, though, I think was a really good achievement. I didn't see them doing that, and then to win the Club World Cup in the way that they did, the final, and the way they out PSG'd PSG. You know, they just were absolutely sensational with an 11 that actually was quite questionable. And it was very similar 11. There's only one difference at the Bayern Munich game midweek. So when people were saying, oh, you should go on and try and win the title now, it just doesn't work like that. And driving up in the rain to Old Trafford on Saturday, I said pre-match, to the broadcaster, this is a perfect time to play Chelsea. You look at Aston Villa and how they struggled with the Premier League and Champions League. This is where we will see where Chelsea are in terms of being able to combine not Premier League, Europa Conference, where it's a completely different 11. This is the top tier. This is one of the best teams in Europe. You've just gone away from home. You have played away, so people don't think about that your body clock is completely mucked up for 48 hours. Physically, it's taken a lot out of you because you played against the top team. And also mentally and emotionally, if you speak to anybody who's played in the Champions League, when they've first done it, it takes a lot out of you. So I wasn't surprised, especially with the conditions, the way that Chelsea played. But I was surprised by the substitutions that Maresca made.
This after the red card,
some of them.
In particular?
Yes.
So what did you think was wrong with those substitutions?
I didn't think taking off Esteval was wrong at all. Someone who's just getting used to the Premier League in those conditions. I don't know, maybe you go to the Brazilian rainforest and maybe it does rain like that, but it was the Amazon, that type of thing. But to take...
regularly playing football there as well.
To take Pedro Neto off, I didn't get it. To go to 5 at the back, it was almost like, do you know what, 86 minutes to go and we're just going to try and not concede another one and hang in there. And I just thought that sent out the wrong signal. You're already on the back foot. You already feel like when I was playing and I had a difficult midweek away game, it was the first 20 minutes I struggled with, not the last 20, because it's almost like you can't get your legs going. It's the lactic acid is still in there. And then suddenly, right, I'm in, fine. And then your natural fitness takes you through to the end of the game. So the first 20 minutes, I thought Chelsea were always going to struggle. But struggling the way they did, I don't feel his substitutions helped in any way. As I say, it's a 5-3-1. There was no real outball, and knowing that Cole Palmer was struggling with his groin anyway, he had a fitness test, in the afternoon. He should have taken him off instead of Pedro Neto. And the moment you get to 1-0 down, you're going uphill, should we say?
Yeah, so obviously those substitutions came about from Robert Sanchez's very early red card, 5th minute in the game, when he brought down Brian Mbeumo for a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity, which will mean it's just a one-match ban rather than what potentially could have been a 3 for serious foul play. In terms of Manchester United, though, Darren, this on paper will just be seen as a massive positive for them going forward under Ruben Amorim, no?
Not really.
No? A win is a win.
Well, a win is a win, but it's now, 32 matches, 9 wins, none of them back-to-back. I was looking at some of the stats. Arsenal, They have now lost more games since Amram arrived than Arsenal have in the last 3 seasons.
Wow.
Sorry, I should say in the last 10 months in the last 3 seasons. But even that stat is just
alarming.
And, you know, there is no guarantee that they're going to follow this up with victory away to Brentford, if I'm not mistaken, at the weekend. And this is the thing about Man United right now. They used to be the team that you could never give up on until the very last minute of injury time, Fergie time. Now this Manchester United, you don't know which one's going to turn up. Decent individual qualities in that attack, but 3 at the back, nobody will ever convince me that this 3 at the back system under Amram that he persists with is a good fit for Manchester United. So listen, congratulations on the win. You ask us here to be honest, and the easiest thing would be to sit here and say, isn't it great? And now they can build and all of the things that would tick all the boxes. But the realities are that you look at that performance, by the end, they were hanging on. And this was, you know, obviously it was 10 against 10 by then. But when Chalobah scored that goal, I think if there were another 5-10 minutes after the obviously all the time added on or whatever, I don't know.
But there is an element, surely, that as a Manchester United player, after what has been a very difficult start to this season, to beat a side like Chelsea that many have been talking up this season. I know, Scott, you say differently, but surely that is a big confidence booster.
No, not really. I mean, I think I agree with Scott's earlier point that they've spent, and I know we don't like to talk about the money, but in today's football climate, you have to, because they are one of the glitterati. And when they used to spend money at the level they're spending at, they brought in battle-hardened, world-class top players. And now they're bringing in prospects, a lot of prospects. And then as soon as those prospects get half decent, they're allowing them to move on. And those players, Madueke slotted right into Arsenal, how they could use somebody like him. And it feels a bit like Brewster's Millions, you know, that Richard Pryor movie, where you spend as much money as you can, you know. But if I look at Liverpool, I'll just make this one point. If I look at Liverpool, I can see what they're trying to do, right? If I look at Arsenal, I can definitely see what they're trying to do. City, we know what they're trying to do. I'm not quite so sure what Chelsea are trying to do, because you could say, well, he's brought in good players and he has ambitions to win this and this and that. But then you start a season, like as, for example, last season, they got to December, they were within a few points of the league. My team is too young. My team is too... Really, how many seasons are you going to say that? Can't win the Champions League now. My team is too young. So what is it you're doing?
Well, I agreed with him at the time. And Darren, they had the youngest average starting 11 in the Premier League by 18 months per player. And it was the youngest average starting 11 in the Premier League history.
Can I just stop you there? I just want to stop you there. That's all. sorry.
I get that at home. That's why I'm talking now.
No, the reason I wanted to stop you is sorry, I indulged me.
Oh, the joker.
No, I don't mind that at all.
No, what I was about to say was that I always remember, we all remember, everyone listening remember, you don't win anything with kids. Come on, it is possible.
They still had a lot of experience, though. I mean, Alan Hansen got derided for that, but they still had a lot of experience, Manchester United. So
yeah, but it isn't.
They had a blend, and Chelsea haven't got that. They're growing. It's
an odd psychology, though, to keep bringing it up as a manager.
Absolutely,
because you're already giving them the excuses.
No, but you're taking, and this is from a dressing room point of view. If he's telling all the players in the dressing room, listen, you're all too young. We're not going to win anything this season. Yeah, I get it. But if you're saying, listen, we can do this, chaps, but I'm going to go out there. I'm not going to say, I'm going to take the pressure off you. We're going to do this. I'm going to say that. I can tell you, Nat, you're looking at me. I know if he's telling me you guys can do it in the dressing room, we don't care what you're saying. We don't care.
I was reading Sir Alex in his book Leading, and he was saying very often you win your press conference. You go out there and you set the tone, because you're not just managing the team, you're managing the fan base as well.
Yeah.
And when you're out there and you're setting that message and you're sending those messages, you're not just talking to reporters, you're sending those messages back to the dressing room. And I just think that if you create this culture, like, let's write off Chelsea, they're no good. I can see what he was trying to do. He was trying to take the pressure off them. But the fact is that when you have that level of expenditure, it
brings the pressure. Of course it does.
And the bottom line is,
but you've got to look beyond that, Darren. You've got to look beyond and it's difficult too. I
Make a quick point because we've got to hit a
quick.
break.
That's a lot of money spent, and whatever anybody says, you spent that amount of money, you should be right up there, and I can't really argue with that. But if you actually look beneath it all and look at the players they've got, the average age, the foreigners that are coming, having to learn a new culture, new language, London as a lifestyle, as well as everything on the pitch as well, with a new manager that's changing every year, it's not an easy thing to do. So for me, I hear you, but this is a team. And just final one, if Maresca... If he had said we should go on and win the title, if he had said we should go on and win the title, and they did what they did, everybody would be throwing the book at him saying,
there's a difference in saying we're going to win the title.
Well, we
just
can win the title.
We're in a race.
And they would still throw the same thing at them.
Well, how serious will they take the League Cup then? They're in action tomorrow night here on talkSPORT when they head to Lincoln. You can tune in at 7:45. It gets underway with Adrian Durham, Jim Proudfoot and the former Chelsea midfielder Andy Townsend. On the way next, we'll talk about another London club who are struggling at this present moment, West Ham. Good evening. Thank you very much for tuning to Kick Off. You're in the company of Darren Lewis, Scott Minto and me, Natalie. So just to bring you some more breaking news from the Ballon d'Or, where they have announced the coaches of the year. And Luis Enrique has won the men's accolade in Paris, and it was England coach Serena Wiegman who has won the women's manager of the year. Now, it does make you think, remember all these sort of journalists that pick these awards, does that mean we might see a PSG player come away with the Ballon d'Or and also maybe a lioness with the women's version? We will find out in due course and we'll keep you updated. But now, let's talk about a club that is struggling somewhat at the moment, and that is West Ham, who are 19th in this early stages of the Premier League table. Just the 1 win and 4 losses from their 5 games so far. Let me ask you, Scott, how much is Graham Potter under pressure?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. If, the rumours are true, and then almost not even rumours at the moment. There's a few managers out there who, won't cost to replace, and I think that's something which David Sullivan likes. But it's all about results. And to be fair to Graham, he took over last season, and I think the West Ham fans were very patient with what happened. First of all, with Lopetegui, because they wanted, talk about be careful what you wish for. Obviously David Moyes, I think we'll look back at, if not already, as a golden period in West Ham's history. But again, I talk about the synergy he's got with Everton that it wasn't there really with West Ham. West Ham fans do want a little bit more flamboyant style of football and youngsters coming through, and they will take a 3-2 loss with a 4-3 win. But Graham needs to win. It's all about winning. Forget the nicey football, and it's not even nicey football at the moment. You can see that he is really, really struggling. I think he's a really good coach, and I was really hoping, I wanted him to be the next West Ham manager after David Moyes. I wanted him to be the next West Ham manager after Lopetegui. And what I thought about him is that he would improve players.
So what have you seen from him in his spells at Brighton, Chelsea and now West Ham that you think he's a good coach?
Well, it's from Brighton, really. I don't think he stood a chance. We touched on the complete change and shift of mentality of a 2-decade era under Roman Abramovich, of these ready-made senior world-class pros to suddenly youngsters and foreign potential talent, but not ready-made. And I think anybody coming into Chelsea at that time would have struggled, to be honest with you. So I don't judge him on that. But this was the job that I thought, okay, let's see what you've got, and I think you've got it, and go out and prove it. Now, the criticism would be he hasn't improved individual players, which I thought he could, because I do believe he's a good coach. But actually, he will say, or should say, really, has he been properly backed? The recruitment, has he been given the quality of players to get West Ham in a place where they need to be? Now, the fans can turn around and say, even if, and they probably agree that the squad isn't quite good enough, but West Ham shouldn't be where they are in the league right now. And you've lost 3 home London derbies. That's obviously not going to go down well. And when you've got fans protesting about the owners aren't going anywhere. The players aren't going anywhere. It just makes the owners even more twitchy to change something, and that generally is the manager.
Yeah, they lost, obviously, to Palace at the weekend. 2-1 was the final score in that one. And he's now won just 6 of his 23 league games in charge, Darren.
And he's lost 14.
Yeah, very telling. There doesn't seem to be any progression since he's taken over.
No, and this is the problem that West Ham have, because I'm slightly at odds with Scott, not by much. Again, exactly. No, but not by much. I mean, I generally agree with what you've been saying, but I just think it is to a large extent. He's a manager, and you work with what you've got. And I look at West Ham's players, and I think there are good enough players to be able to be doing better than they are. I don't look at that team and see a sound defensive base. I don't see any kind of organisation. They keep conceding goals from set pieces. And the problem that West Ham got as well is that one of the 2 contenders for the job, my understanding is that Bilic is favoured by one part of the board, if you like, and Nuno is preferred by another. The problem with Nuno is very similar to David Moyes in that he gets the job done, but he's not particularly flamboyant. So he could come in, he could stabilise them, he could get players doing their jobs and sort out the set piece situation. But eventually, you could have a situation similar to the one with Moyes, who is the most successful manager they've had in Premier League history. And even Sam Allardyce, who kept them up but went at the end of his contract because people were too demoralised by the style of play. So it's a little bit of a conundrum for them, because what they do need to do is stabilise. And I know for a fact that they prioritise over everything their Premier League position. West Ham are not a club that would say we would take winning a cup if it meant that we went down. They prioritise staying in the Premier League over everything, and they have big ambitions at that football club. They want to be in European competition. Moyes was getting them. That's why they stuck by him so much in the face of all the criticism, because he was getting them into Europe on a regular basis. And now they're drifting.
And something you mentioned there, set pieces has been a massive undoing for them this season. No other team has conceded more goals than West Ham when it comes to set pieces. 7, in fact, of the 13 that they've let in have come from that. And I think the next best would have been about 3, something like that. So if you know that's the issue, Scott, do you think that's something they're working on the training ground? Because we're not seeing it in transitioning onto the pitch.
No, and that's what I was going to say, Nat. Do you think they're not working on the training ground? You know, they absolutely are working at the training ground, and the buck always stops with the manager. But when it comes to set pieces, it's about the players as much as, well, more than the manager. Who wants to win that ball? Who's staying alive with the flick on? You know, obviously there's quality balls coming in because you're playing against Premier League players, but you have to be able to. The setup is there. Are you telling me they're not spending a long period of time, not just in terms of on the training pitch, but showing video analysis? This is what this team we're about to play do with their set pieces. Now, you can't... There's always going to be a new set piece. So therefore, the players have to react to that. But then at the same time, if they've shown those particular set pieces and they've conceded goals, what more can a manager do? So
you have sympathy on that side of things?
I do have sympathy. When I hear about set piece goals and the manager's got... Please, you tell him, if we find out they're not working on it, absolutely hammer him. I don't believe for 1 second that they're not working on set pieces, and then it's down to the players.
We should have a word on Palace, really, because they're not getting any credit at all, really, from this victory, and the fact that, as we mentioned, they're unbeaten in the league. Their unbeaten run stretches back to last season, 17 games. That includes an FA Cup final victory as well. We've mentioned they've got Liverpool at home next in the league. Are these dark horses potentially with Crystal Palace?
Absolutely. Well, they're not dark horses anymore because they came out and won the FA Cup last season.
True.
And they've shown what they can do against the biggest teams in the country. What I do worry for Palace, is that Glasner, for me, is a candidate for that West Ham job. If I was West Ham,
right,
I would be. And it's always people, why are you sending our manager off, as if we have any power in that regard? These are opinions. And I think that if I'm West Ham, I'm looking at...
Do you think he would see that as an attractive proposition?
I don't know, is the honest answer. I mean, he gets a lot of support at Palace, which seems a little bit of a contradiction in terms given the situation at the end of the window, when 1 minute Mark Gahey was on his way to Liverpool, and then the next he wasn't because there hadn't been a replacement in for him. But what he is a terrific coach of individual players. He's a terrific coach of systems. He's a terrific coach on set pieces. I watched his Eintracht Frankfurt team play against West Ham in the semi-final of the Europa League. And that's how I came to be watching his teams. I'd watched a few games ahead of that match to kind of understand the way he likes to play, and you can see the improvement in the West Ham team. You can see why they love him so much. You can see why they stuck by him when he only won 1 Premier League game during the first 5 months of last season. A lot of other clubs in the Premier League would have sacked him, but Palace knew what they had.
I hate to be complimentary about Crystal Palace with my Charlton roots, but it's never been a better time to be a Crystal Palace fan. And that is down to Oliver Glasner. You know, he's not been backed, I don't feel. And I think, he said he didn't threaten to resign. okay, let's go with him on that. But let's just say he lent very heavily that we cannot afford to let Mark Guehi go. This is a manager who is showing how to play 3-4-2-1. Now, I'm very loath to compare Crystal Palace with Manchester United because the weight of that United shirt, unless you're sort of there and understand what it's like with a big club, one of, if not the biggest in the world, is a different thing. But it absolutely works. He's proven he can do it in Europe. I hope genuinely that they do well in Europe this year. I think any team that's in the Europa Conference League, as disappointed as they are, they're in that competition. I think they've got a great opportunity to win it.
But the problem is if he doesn't have the strength with that squad.
Right, so I don't believe he's going back to the question of West Ham. West Ham's a big club with incredibly passionate fans, and I want to see West Ham regularly going into the Europa League, and that's where they should be aiming for. But at this moment in time, he's not going to leave Crystal Palace for West Ham. And I believe he's honourable enough to see out his contract, and then we'll have to wait and see how much the board supports him there. And once he's out of contract, I think he's going to be one of the hottest properties for much bigger clubs.
Okay, and what a test it is for them against Liverpool, as we say, on Saturday, as well as they host them at Selhurst Park. Both of these two teams unbeaten so far in the league. Just more news coming out of the Ballon d'Or and the Yashin Trophy. Wow. Are you aware of the Yashin Trophy?
Yeah.
Best goalkeeper, indeed. Well, Hannah Hampton, the Lioness, has won the best women's goalkeeper, and the men's accolade has gone to Gianluigi Donnarumma.
Well done, Hannah.
Yes,
absolutely.
that is terrific.
To her. She's a friend of the station, isn't she? She came in to...
That's right, she has been. Yes, Sam. It was the White and Jordan, I think, on a Friday.
Under a lot of pressure going into the...
Absolutely, with Mary Earps and everything. And
That's right,
absolutely.
Because obviously when Mary was dropped,
that's right.
She was handed the shirt, or she handed the opportunity, and she embraced it so well. So well.
And that goalkeeper position, again, I talk about players or managers underrated. To have a top goalkeeper and to not see the ball for long periods of time, and then to maybe make a mistake, and then to have the little devil on your shoulder, to tell him to shut up. No, the next chance that comes, whatever the fans are saying at that particular time behind the goal, you need to be a certain type of character to be a goalkeeper, and well done.
This is all pointing in a very, very promising direction for England.
Exactly. Exactly. And I have a feeling that we could see a double in the sense of with Arsenal, what they did in the Champions League, and the Lionesses as well. It could be Alessia Russo or Leah Williamson. We will see, but fingers crossed. You're listening to Kick Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gambleaware.org. This is Kick-Off, and it's Monday evening, fast approaching 9 o'clock. Goodness me, it's gone quick already. It's Darren Lewis, Scott Minto and Natalie Sawyer with you until 10 o'clock. Just to reiterate, Hannah Hampton has won the Yashin Trophy at the Ballon d'Or. It's the first ever time, in fact, that they've given this trophy out to a woman, the Lioness captain, goalkeeper, I should say. And let's not forget, she had an eye condition. At one stage, they said she'd never play football or ever play sport, but she persevered, saved 2 spot kicks in the penalty shootout that led to England beating Spain in the Euros final. So she, along with Serena Wiegmann, who was voted the women's best coach, celebrating this evening, and we'll keep you updated on everything that is going on at the Ballon d'Or as we await the men's and women's winners. Right, let's get to a team that not many people would have predicted would have struggled this season, and that is Aston Villa, who find themselves in 18th place. I know it's early, but they're yet to win. They've scored just 1 league goal, and that came last time out in their 1-1 draw with 10 men Sunderland. I mean, I've seen Aston Villa twice this season because we played them in the League Cup as well. Both were at the G-Tech. The first time I saw them was in the league and we beat them 1-0. It's the first time I've ever seen a Villa side look ponderous, passive, lacking in confidence. It was like they all looked lost. Lazy was not the word I would have used, but they looked lost. They looked like they just didn't know what they were doing, which is bizarre to think of how impressive they have been under Unai Emery. But it feels as though there's a lot going on behind the scenes that perhaps we're not privy to that is leading to what we're now witnessing with Villa, Darren.
Well, I think even the stuff that we're seeing on the pitch and around the club is very instructive indeed. I definitely, I was on the show last season raving about them around about this time. I probably went a little bit too far in suggesting that they were going to maybe compete for the title.
Well, you went early with that. Okay, all right.
But I did have big expectations for them, and actually the season ended up being a sensational one for them, and they were very, very unlucky. Not to progress in the Champions League. It was an outstanding performance by PSG and their goalkeeper, Donnarumma, who was sensational on the night.
I read somewhere PSG officials said that Villa is the best team they played in the
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were exceptional and they were buzzing. And you can probably, again, I keep deferring to you, but you know all about how it must be when as a club you're buzzing and everything is going in the right direction and the feel-good factor is there, and not qualifying for the Champions League and some horrendous decision-making in other games and also towards them contributed to that. I think it's hurt them really hard.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I remember covering them that in the Championship where on March the 1st, they were 13th, so they were in the bottom half of the Championship on March the 1st. And they went on this great run and just nicked into the playoffs, and then they got to the final, they won the final. I remember doing that game, and Jack Grealish just amazing person, really. He's an incredible person. He does incredible work for charity and all off the pitch, and this is why I want him to do really well, as well as the fact of being a great talent as well. And to think how far they've come in such a short space of time, in one sense, shouldn't be surprising when you think about the size of the club. And again, you go back to the early 80s and what they did. It's there. The history is there. The size of the club is there. The fans are there. Whenever I covered them in the Championship, it felt like a proper, not just a Premier League game, but a proper Premier League game. So it was brilliant. They shouldn't have been there, but they were for on-the-field reasons. So to get into the Champions League was brilliant. Again, what I say about Chelsea was what I said about Villa 12 months ago, and what I said about Newcastle before then. It's one thing to do really well when you either haven't got Europe or you're playing in a inferior competition. It's another thing to be playing in dining with on the top table with the big boys, and then to come off at the back of that and play in the Premier League again. And they didn't react to that well, and yet still they went to the last game of the season where they should have beaten a really poor United side. They had a bad decision against them. But I feel, and I've heard Unai Emery. I remember one interview driving back after a game and listening to Sam Matterface interviewing Unai, and it was not the Emery that it was rude. It was short. It was so clearly. And I said to Sam, something's going on behind the scenes. He's clearly not happy, and he's been like that continuously as well. He's not happy with what he knows he needs to take Villa on, but he's just not able to from a financial PSR point of view.
Yeah.
Not even financial, but PSR point of view. And I think that has gone through the whole summer, the whole pre-season. And look, I think managers are given a bit too much credit or criticism, and I think players have to take responsibility. But I do think the way that the summer transfer went, and clearly the way he was talking and must have been like that behind the scenes as well, you can clearly see, despite them now having good players on paper, it's not right behind the scenes, and it's a problem. And I don't worry for them in any way whatsoever in terms of going down, but they should be fighting for Europe and even the Champions League, and I'm not sure they're going to do that.
I worry more that they could lose Emery, and that would...
Well, he called his players lazy. I mean, that is quite a thing to say. I mean, as a player, you wouldn't want to be called lazy, would you?
I wouldn't want to be called it, but it's like, I mean, get a backbone.
Yeah.
If you're saying you've lost the players by saying these players are lazy in public, then kind of a player are you? It's different nowadays, and you do have to be very, very careful. But I wouldn't like him for it, and I may have a few little choice words or even between us. But once
you have the right to, if you've been playing in that side that are conceding 3 goals at home to Crystal Palace, would you have the right to turn around and say, "Why are you criticising me for?" He'd just say, "Well, look at the table, look at where we are, look at our performances, look at the fact that we've conceded a goal against a side that we should be beaten with a minimum of fuss."
100%. You can't say anything. And as much as you might have an argument face to face with the manager,
you say that, but can some of them turn around and go, "Hang on, in some of our most important games last season, you chose to play Marcus Rashford rather than Ollie Watkins."
You can turn to them and Natalie and say, "Hang on a minute, I've won stuff. I've been in the Champions League. What have you done?" Turning around to me and saying, "I've chosen to do this. I'm the manager. I'm allowed to do that kind of thing."
I know, but what I'm saying is there is an element, could there be, and I'm only playing devil's advocate here, of losing confidence in a manager because, and I don't know this, but Ollie Watkins, for example, I think is a confidence player, is a player that needs an arm around the shop.
You be Ollie Watkins.
No, what I'm saying is, why do you then... But is there not an element of, hang on, 1 minute you need me, and then when push comes to shove, I'm on the bench, and you don't see me as this important player.
In all seriousness, right? I alluded earlier to Sir Alex Ferguson and the book Leading. It's a terrific read. And the reason why Unai Emery is such a fantastic manager, because he's very similar to Sir Alex, is that he is the authority in that dressing room. He comes in with an outstanding body of work. It is for players to justify themselves to him and not the other way around.
Yes. Yeah,
very quickly on Ollie Watkins. Now, you have a soft spot for him, obviously, coming from where he's come from.
I do.
And I do as well, again, covering the Championship and seeing him do really well, and I knew he would. I'm sorry, if he does have a problem with it, he's got to get over it. Because he's playing for us.
No, I know. I'm playing devil's advocate in that
fans.
situation.
Yeah, I disagree that the decision that was made last season, I think he should have been playing. But that's last season. This is this season. Get over it.
Okay. Well,
I don't think he does have a problem with it.
Okay. Thursday night, they are back in action in the Europa League as they begin their European adventure. They're hosting Bologna. I'm going to be at Villa Park for this one. Yeah. Commentary with Jim Proudfoot and Leanne Sanderson involved too. Tune in, kicking off at 8. We're going to continue to talk about the teams that are struggling at the bottom end of the table. Wolves are next.
Interchangeably to describe Premier League bosses, but they're actually two different jobs. So let's explain how and why. For years, fans referred to Mikel Arteta as Arsenal's manager, but I'm afraid technically...
I don't think so, no.
From his first day on the job, he was the Gunners' head coach. Let's pick a random moment in time, February 2025. Only 6 Premier League bosses actually held the official title of manager rather than head coach. Man City's Pep Guardiola, David Moyes of Everton, Ipswich boss Kieran McKenna, Southampton's Ivan Juric, Oliver Glasner at Crystal Palace and Leicester's Ruud van Nistelrooy were the only actual managers of their respective teams. Everyone else? That's right, head coach, including Ruben Amorim at Man United. He took over from Erik ten Hag, a man who had held the title of manager. Might come as a surprise that Amorim's appointment marked the first time ever that Man United had a head coach instead of a manager. But to understand why they made that decision, you also have to get what the difference is between a head coach and a manager. A manager's got a huge range of responsibilities. They're not just in charge of training and player lineups, they're also heavily involved in player sales and transfers. Critical stuff. But a head coach's role is far more focused on team training and performance on the pitch. So whereas Ten Hag was highly involved with decisions around transfers during his tenure, the intention was that Amorim wouldn't be, at least not on the same level. And as the sporting structure at Man United changed under Sir Jim Ratcliffe, people like Sir Dave Brailsford took charge of transfers instead. How all those roles play out in practice may be slightly different at different clubs though. On the other hand, the contracts of actual managers like Pep or Moyes had no limits on their job role and their involvement with transfers and contracts. But those guys are actually in the minority now, and it's a change that's happened pretty quickly. In 2019, there were only 6 head coaches in the Premier League, but by 2025, there were 14. A clear indication that more and more clubs are moving towards a model where the guy in charge is actually only really in charge on the pitch. And the way things are going, it might not be long before all 20 clubs have got head coaches, and the job position of football manager in the top flight is no more.
Good evening, this is Kick-Off. Pleasure to have your company this Monday evening. I'm Natalie Sawyer and alongside me it's Darren Lewis and Scott Minto. Just to keep you regularly updated on what is happening at the Theatre du Châtelet in Paris, where the Ballon d'Or ceremony is taking place. Arsenal women have just won the Women's Club of the Year. Remember, they won the Champions League at the end of last season. An incredible achievement for them, and they have won the Women's Club of the Year. We wait to see who'll win the men's version, and also, of course, the big winners of the Ballon d'Or, the men's and female. Also, to let you know, PSG have lost their first game in Ligue 1. They lost at Marseille this evening. That in the rescheduled game was meant to take place yesterday, but bad weather meant that it was postponed. They rescheduled it for today, and they have lost that game, which is something. They don't tend to lose many games, but they've lost to Marseille today. And no doubt a few PSG players will be looking on to see what happens at the Ballon.
They're all watching the Ballon d'Or.
Switched off. Lazy they are. Absolute lazy. Yes. I think Ousmane Dembele certainly will be at this Ballon d'Or event because he is injured, but a fair few would have been involved in that Marseille game, so they will not be there. Unless, of course, they suddenly get a helicopter. I don't know.
Maybe.
Wow, that would be fun. They could do like the Queen, wasn't it, at the Olympics?
Yeah. 2012.
Yeah, there you go. Right, and by the way, over on talkSPORT 2 right now, if you want to tune into, we've got live Championship football where Millwall still lead Watford by 1-0. It's just a few minutes old into the second half. But we're going to continue to look back at what has happened over the weekend, and in particular in the Premier League. And it's been a very, very difficult start for Wolves, who have lost all 5 of their games. So the only side without a point so far. And it looked good at one stage against Leeds because they took the lead in that game at the weekend, only then to lose it 3-1 at home. They announced this week that Vitor Pereira signed a new 3-year deal. When you bear in mind the timing of that for me felt very strange when you consider the difficulties that they're going through. Or was that a case of, let's put out some good news? Everyone needs something right now.
I think it might well have been that, because obviously he kept them in the Premier League last season. That would have been his reward for doing so. Set against that, I remember one of his predecessors, Gary O'Neill, got a 4-year contract around about this time, and that didn't save his job because the run wasn't good. There were lots and lots of mitigating factors. I think of the players with the most minutes, Ait-Nouri, Cunha and Semedo have all left the club. That's a lot of experience. Sarabia's gone as well. Pedro Neto was sold off as well. We've seen so many times in the Premier League, you just cannot expect to function the way you had done previously when you let experience go out the door. And so I think there's a lot of understanding about that. Jeff Shee's been saying, listen, we want stability at the club. We've had a lot of chopping and changing, so this is a time for calm. And I think they are going to persevere with him for a while. It's very early days.
Yeah. 12 goals conceded. That's the second most of any side in the Premier League so far. It's West Ham who've conceded the most from their 5 games. We have, in building up to the start of this Premier League, been talking about the 3 teams that come up. Can one of them, or 2 of them, or all of them, in fact, buck the trend of going straight back down? With the way that Wolves have started, does that mean at least 2 of them can survive and that Wolves are certainties to go down? Or do you think there's still time for them? And I know I say time, it's still early, but do you know what I mean? Have you seen enough in this Wolves team that they could get out of this bother?
I know exactly what you mean, Nat. I think...
I don't think anybody else did. Thank you.
I was trying to bluff there, and now I've got to make it sound like I did.
Yes, please do.
No, look, well, then you've got to just briefly touch on the other 3. And obviously one of them, that's why I thought it was a massive game at the weekend. Leeds went 1-0 down and yet still found a way to win. And they are struggling a little bit. I think Daniel Farke is not 100% happy with the transfer window that he's had. And yet that's why I thought it'd be a real big game. I think Sunderland have just bought so well, haven't they? I mean, when they went up in the playoff final, not only did I think they'd come straight back down, but I thought they could be, in terms of accumulation of points, really struggling to get above Southampton last season. But you saw straight away, actually, no, we're going to go into, Granit Xhaka one was a brilliant signing, plus all the others that they've made. And then Burnley as well, we've already seen that's going to be a difficult place to go. Even Liverpool, just ask them. So absolutely, this is the first year in 3 years where 1, if not 2, and who knows, maybe all 3 of the established teams could go down. And I predicted at the start of the season on the All Access podcast, Premier League All Access podcast with Sam, Crookie and Troy, for Wolves to go down. I think Vitor Pereira has done exceptionally well since he came in. But again, there's only so much a manager can do. Now, Domenico Tetti is the director of football, and he's kind of guy, and I think that's where the new contract has come from. But it's going to be very, very tough. Again, it's another one of those, it almost doesn't matter who the manager is with those type of players that's gone, the players that have come in. They most of them haven't played a minute of Premier League football. And they will be good in the future, but it's not about the future, it's about the here and now.
One thing I would say is that, just to give them, Wolves fans, a little ray of hope, they are traditionally slow starters. If you go back the last 4 seasons, 19th after 5 games with no win. 16th the season before that, 18th the season before that, and 16th the season before that. And all of those seasons under Espirito Santo, Bruno Lage, Julian Lopetegui, Gary O'Neill, and now Pereira, they've all had slow starts.
They've got this strange stat about August. They don't win in August
either. They've only got one win in August.
Is that what it is? Just one?
Yeah, but I then, and again, I don't want to sort of bring that down, but if we're being, brutally honest, they haven't got the players that will get them out in the second half of the season that they've had. You just mentioned the players that they have had. They're shipping in goals at a crazy rate at the moment. The players that they have sort of kept, Andre and Agbadou to name two, are nowhere near the level they were last season. And yes, there's still plenty of time, but it is very difficult to turn it around. And they have proven that they can do it, but with a different class of players. And I just look at the players they've got, and I think Pereira's going to struggle.
5 straight losses, unfortunately, for Wolves as how they have started the season. And their next game is a trip to Tottenham at the weekend, so it doesn't get particularly easy for them. Then again, no game is easy, really. OK, we are going to continue to talk about the weekend's action, but PSG, it's no surprise. PSG have won the Men's Club of the Year at the Ballon d'Or, so it's kind of all going the same way. Champions League winners, winning the big awards.
I can't believe Chelsea haven't done that. Club world champions.
Shh. OK. No, it's all about the Champions League. Which might mean that we might get an English winner in the sense of the Arsenal women's team who won the Champions League, and there's a whole host of players involved in this Ballon d'Or who could come away with it, which would be some feat as well. You're tuning in to Kick Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gambleaware.org.
I am Scott Minto.
This is Kick-Off on talkSPORT, and it is Scott Minto, Darren Lewis and Natalie Sawyer who are with you until 10. Just a reminder that DAZN brings you over 185 fights a year and an undisputed schedule featuring stars like Dave Allen, Joshua Boazzi, Jaron Ennis, Nathaniel Collins and much, much more as well. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
All right, we're continuing to look back on what has happened over the weekend in the Premier League. We're going to take you to the South Coast, where it was all looking pretty good for Brighton. 2-0 up, leading Tottenham at, half an hour gone in that game. Richarlison then pulled one back just before half-time, and then an own goal meant that Spurs did come away with a point from that game. Thomas Frank, very new in his role, of course. He's had the adventures already of playing in the European Super Cup final, losing to PSG, but certainly tested them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have also obviously been involved in Champions League football as well with Villarreal. He said he was very, very proud of the performance at the Amex, saying it was actually the best performance he's seen from his team. From what you've seen of them so far, are they much improved?
Yes, I think they are. They're better organised. They're better at set pieces. They don't wave the white flag in quite the same way that they did last season. And I think that comes from him. There's clarity about the way that he wants to play his football. There's a clarity about his message. But there was real character about Saturday's recovery. And they were good value for the draw. They actually should have went on to win.
They've lost just once under Thomas Frank then, since he was appointed in the league I'm talking about. Do you think this is something that they can sustain now, where this sort of good progress that we're seeing? Can they be challenging at the top end of the table? Not necessarily for the title, but those European spots. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, again, it's another one of those where I don't think people realise how difficult it is, the combination of the Premier League and the Champions League. So if they get anywhere near a European place, I think that's a brilliant first season for Thomas Frank. And if they can get through to which I think they should, even through the playoffs, get into the knockout stages of the Champions League. I think we saw on the weekend a side to Spurs that we didn't see under Ange Postecoglou, not in the second season anyway. A mental toughness, a resilience, a way of coming back. If you remember the same game last season, where Spurs were 2-0 up, should have been 3, ended up losing the game. And, let's give credit to Ange for winning the Europa League. But the Premier League to say wasn't good enough is just a complete understatement. But I think what Thomas Frank has done, and you know him better than anyone, Nat, I don't know if he's been sending you any more messages recently.
He hasn't.
but he's an incredibly adaptable, intelligent, football intelligent, but also just good people's person, manager. And he's kind of got it all. And yes, he's still going to be learning by going to the next level. But I do feel he's a perfect man for Spurs. And if the Spurs fans and you will go through some bad periods, because let's not forget, Spurs seem to, with a new manager, always do well initially. And then it's a question of, right, can they sustain it? They did it under Ange, they did it under Nuno. They've done it under previous managers. I genuinely think with the squad that they've got, and Xavi Simon's coming on made a big difference. And it's going to be interesting to see when he actually starts a game. Yeah. I think the squad that they've got, the manager they've got, I think they've got a great chance. What I don't want at the end of the season, if Spurs don't win a trophy, it's you didn't win a trophy. And Ange did last year. Because this is a whole new level, combining again Premier League champions.
I think that the only good thing for them is that there isn't any pantomime villain in the chairman's role now for them to start having a go at, because he's long gone. And I actually do think they'll be in the shake-up for one of the cup, one of the trophies, or maybe a Champions League place, because I think behind the top three it's very much, with respect obviously to Chelsea, but it's very close between the other teams behind that top three.
There's no respect to Chelsea.
Do you know, I was about to say there's much of a muchness, and then I looked into your eyes, I got quite scared.
Yeah, he smiles at you, but you can see it in their eyes. He's not happy.
I looked, I was like, are you going to kill me?
No, not today. No. I agree with you. The top three are the top three, and then I think Chelsea are the next team. But I think fifth downwards. That fifth place is so up for grabs.
Yeah.
It's so up for grabs for so many teams.
Why are you so confident on Chelsea being fourth rather than Tottenham?
Because I think they're ahead of the game. What we've seen in the last year, the team growing together. They've won the Europa Conference League. They've finished fourth already.
But
so
they're
they know
so
how to do
young.
it. But they're a year older, a year more experienced, a year wiser.
That's like saying, I'm 18. I'm 17 and 9 months in. So you're not 18.
Well, they are 18 now. That's my point. But that's why I think they've got they're not there for the top three challenging. But I do think they will be fourth again, and hopefully go very far in the Champions League and maybe win the domestic cups. But I think Spurs could well. I think if they do that, finish fourth and do well in the Champions League and win a cup, that is just an absolutely incredible season for Thomas Frank. So we'll have to wait and see. But Chelsea, for me, are ahead of the game in terms of just where they are of development.
Can I just ask you this, just to develop what you've been saying? If you look at Vicario, Van de Ven and Romero, would you say Sanchez and any two of their centre halves are as good as?
Well, you're picking you're probably picking the weakest
Romero.
part of Chelsea there, so I like it. Very clever.
No. But actually, I wasn't doing that but I was more trying to make a serious point in so much as they are three of the most important areas.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
if you think about the Brentford game, and I know that wasn't necessarily at the fault of any of those players, it was people just not tracking their runner to allow Carvalho, thank you, to score. But I think as far as Chelsea's defence is concerned, against Bayern, they were ripped apart. It was 3, it could have been 5. And I just worry, in all seriousness, for that back line, because they've got terrific protection for that back four. But it's those individuals in the back four that make the errors that lead to the goals that could be your undoing.
I respectfully totally disagree with what you were saying about they could have been hammered by Bayern Munich. Yes, Robert Sanchez made a couple of saves, but in the words of the great Roy Keane, that's his job, isn't it?
No, fair enough.
And you look at the 3 goals that they conceded, each of them were really poor goals to concede, which I think they can learn from. They actually looked, I think, in the first half and then towards the end of the game as well, comfortable. And again, I don't think people realise they haven't played Champions League for 4 seasons now as a club. But I think it was 5 of the starting 11 who had never played Champions League before, and I think it was 7 or 8 by the end of the game. So I don't want to go down the Busby Babes or whatever, but they're still learning as a group, and I genuinely think they can learn quickly. I think they are learning quickly, and not in any way am I saying that I believe they will win the Champions League. But all I will say is, you look at PSG last Christmas. Tell me one person who said PSG will win.
No,
I agree. But
and they developed, and Scalia came in. Obviously, then Dembele went up front. So there were reasons behind it. All I'm saying is that, from a Chelsea point of view, which we shouldn't be talking about, it's still a development. It shouldn't be with the money that they've spent, but these are still getting to know it. So I understand what you're saying.
Just a quick word on Brighton as well. Where do you think they're at right now? This is Fabian Herzler's 2nd season now.
Yeah, and he was given a lot of money, wasn't he, last season? To spend, which is very unlike Brighton. And I think there are a few Brighton fans who are not quite happy with the style of football. It's very kind of, it's not how it's been. The sort of passing game has been like counter-attack very quickly, get the ball out wide to the 2 wingers who were very, very good indeed. I said at the very start of the season, they haven't got Europe. They're developing. They've got a very young manager who's learning about the Premier League. But because they haven't got Europe, again, they've got time, like United, they've got time to work on the training pitch, and tiredness shouldn't be an issue. And I was disappointed with the first few games that I saw. Great comeback against Manchester City. But that's a game you want to try and see out, isn't it, against Spurs when you're 2-0 up at home.
With around 8 minutes until the 90th.
I do think as far as Brighton are concerned, they are a club where you can lose 4-0 and no one bats an eyelid outside of the club, because they're a business model club. They are well aware Baleba will probably go next summer. They'll bring the next person in. And, the way that they go about things is that you have to kind of suffer that frustration in the knowledge that eventually they'll get the players that will be the next wave, if you like, and they'll build and they'll grow together, and then they'll be sold off. So I think it's the life of a Brighton fan in the Premier League. The model is great. in terms of it bringing money in for them. Tony Bloom has done a terrific job empowering the people to do all that kind of thing.
Genius.
But I don't know if you can judge Brighton in the same way that you would judge, I don't know, I might be wrong for saying this, but I don't know if you could judge them in the same way you can judge a Brentford or a Crystal Palace is probably a better example, who have a very clear aim to win things. They're bringing in players to win things and to compete and to get into Europe. I'm not so sure Brighton put that first. I mean, if you can do both, develop the players and get into Europe and whatever else, fine. But I think the business model is to bring the players in cheaply, sell them on big.
I think it has been, but up until, from last summer, I think they've been spending big.
Really?
I think they're looking now for Europe. I think that's the next step. And that's where, it's going to be an interesting season for Fabian Herzler. Is he someone that will be there for 5-6 years because he's still so young and he's learning on the job and he's a very good coach? Or is it, if you don't get us into Europe this season, we're going to we have spent on a different level to previous years now, and we want to hit Europe.
All right, we'll continue to discuss then the weekend's action, a couple of other games for us to sink our teeth into. I'm going to have to talk about the one at Craven Cottage as well. That's next. Good evening. This is Kickoff here on talkSPORT. No, do you know what it is? I haven't forgotten Darren Lewis.
I've only been doing it for 2.5 hours.
No, I haven't. I was
And
just
5 weeks.
I was just distracted by the Ballon d'Or. I'm sorry, I was distracted by the Ballon d'Or. It is Darren Lewis, Scott Minto, and Natalie Sawyer with you. With regards to the women's Ballon d'Or, we are down now to the final two. Disappointment for the Lionesses in the sense that none of those who were nominated are in that final two. But we can tell you that Hannah Hampton was 10th, Lucy Bronze 9th, Leah Williamson 7th, and Chloe Kelly was 5th in the top 10. And it comes down to two Spanish players to see who will come away with the Women's Award. One being Bon Mati, who is looking to win it for a third successive year, and the other Caldente, who plays for Arsenal, although was playing for Barcelona a year ago. So we will wait to see what happens with that one, who will come away with it.
So it could still be a victory for Arsenal.
Yes.
But just not one of the English players.
Not one of the English players, indeed. But you do, with Bon Mati, who is obviously incredible for Barcelona. If you remember at the Euros, it was concerns of whether or not she'd be fit because she had meningitis. She was in hospital. But she did obviously come back and take part, in that Euros, resulting in the Lionesses, of course, winning on that penalty shootout. But we'll wait to see who wins that one. It could be history once more for Bon Mati, or Caldente will win it. Right. I've tried to waste as much time as possible. The latest episode, by the way, of the brand new talkSPORT Daily podcast is available right now. As Sean O'Brien and Rupert Bell preview this year's Ryder Cup. Tune in on the talkSPORT app or wherever you get your podcasts from. Will you be tuning in to the Ryder Cup, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be fascinating. Absolutely. Have you ever had to use VR headsets to kind of get used to a crowd noise, which what Team Europe have been doing? They're expecting a lot of naughtiness.
Is that like Mikel Arteta playing the noise of Anfield?
Yeah, a little bit. It's that kind of version. Yeah, okay. We'll move on because we do have to talk about what happened in a West London derby that took place at Craven Cottage. Fulham beating Brentford by 3-1, and Brentford took the lead in that game through Mikkel Damsgaard, but then there were some quick-fire goals from the home side that turned the game around. And in all fairness, Fulham deserved all 3 points because Brentford was shocking. Scott.
You have a monologue here if you want. Do you want to go?
What can I say? Shall I start with the lineup? When the lineups were announced, I straight away thought, that's defeatist from Keith Andrews.
Why?
Because he went for a back five. And I thought, I get it in certain occasions. You got to play defensive heavy. I just thought Fulham, in a way, could have been there for the taking. It's not like Fulham have, sparkled in the Premier League so far. Now, that's not to dismiss Fulham, because obviously I haven't seen them week in, week out.
Fulham are a very good side.
No, I know that.
I covered them at Stamford Bridge.
I know that.
Chelsea TV, and even I was saying, how was that not a goal? And that first goal could have been very,
for Josh
very
King,
important.
yes, absolutely. I'm not, and that's what I'm saying.
Brentford are used to playing a five.
No, they are. But there are times, a bit like we were saying with Mikel Arteta, I know this is away from home, but there are some times when you just look at a lineup and you think, it doesn't feel like this is a winnable team. It just didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
And it just didn't click. And when you're leaving our record signing on the bench, who has pace, who has the ability to get in behind Dango Ouattara.
Finisher.
Well, I don't want him to be a finisher. I want him to start. I want him to cause problems, and then you can take him off and rest him.
Well, that was my argument with Arsenal.
Yes. This is the point. And I do understand that there are certain players, and actually Serena Wiegman, funnily enough, used that well at the Euros with Chloe Kelly and Michelle Aguiman, when everyone was saying they should be starting games because they were coming on and impacting, scoring goals, etc., with Kelly often providing the assist for Aguiman. But sometimes it works that those players are suited to those roles. But I think Dango Ouattara is a player that can start and should start.
But then if you look at both the strikers that you played, Thiago's had a decent start to the season. Sharda's pace has been terrific, and his composure in the final third. You couldn't really argue with either of those, could you?
Damsgaard came back in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
arguably your best player.
Yeah, but all of them had a bad game. All of them had a bad game. There wasn't one player that I thought.
So we're blaming the players then, really?
Well, I think it's a bit element of both. I think personally, like I say, as soon as I saw that lineup, I just felt defeated already. Because I just wanted us to try something different. I know it sounds silly. It's a risk. Of course, it's a risk. But I just didn't like the lineup straight away.
Wonder if
I'm not to say that's not to say I'm saying Keith Andrews out. I'm not saying that at all. I just didn't appreciate that lineup. thought we could have been a bit more positive.
I just wonder if he looked at the Fulham team and the players that they've got in that forward line and in that midfield who can burst forward, Emil Smith-Rowe, of course. And he probably thought to himself, I need to be able to cover every eventuality with my team selection. These guys, as Scott was saying, they're a good side. They've got that capability to score goals.
I also wonder what you were thinking at the half-hour mark when they were 1-0 up.
Oh, I'm celebrating. Of course I am. I'm thinking this is it. We're going to get a victory at Craven Cottage. We've not. Listen, Fulham have had the measure over us in the last few games, so it's in a way no surprise that we lost. And I'm not in the Keith Andrews camp, but there are already fans saying, out, Keith Andrews camp out.
Really?
Yes, because they didn't want him in the first place.
Right, so there you go. They've made a decision.
It's crazy.
Isn't it?
Absolutely crazy.
Let me tell you, anybody following Thomas Frank, even if they'd kept their best players, that's their big boots to fill.
Yeah.
And then you've got the players that have left, key players, the goals that they've lost. And the reason why they didn't want Visser to go with Mbeumo had already gone, the captain, leader, gone as well. And then Visser, at the last moment, that's very disruptive, both when he's at the club and even afterwards.
I agree with you.
So
plus you've left backroom staff as well that have gone with Thomas Frank.
There's a huge number of players, coaches. The upheaval's been massive, and it's hard for Keith, I'm sure, to really first name terms.
It would be hard for any manager.
Yeah, of course.
And it does make me laugh that I understand that certain parts of the media might want to do it that way, even though I don't agree with it. But for the Brentford fans, again, I talked about Palace and we talked about Brighton. You can chuck Brentford in there as well. There's never been a better time to be a Brentford fan.
I have to just say, it's my thing. I always say it. I always say it. We are all the media. Everyone says the media, right? This is the media.
Parts of the media. But I'm not being critical of Keith. I'm saying that parts of the media are waiting for him.
But what I mean is,
I'm not a part of that media.
But what the media as it was doesn't have the power that people on social media in real time can exert in terms of their opinion towards a player or a manager or even a pundit.
Yeah,
we just don't have that.
I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that we're not part of the media. Of course we're part of the media. But what I am saying, there are parts of the media, and I'm not part of that part of the media, that are waiting for him to fail.
I don't think there are. I listen, I'm the president of the Sports Journalists Association. You might say I would say that, but I've never ever, in 25 years of covering football, talking about football, even in private moments when we're having a meal or a beer, I've never ever heard another journalist say, "You wait, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him." Never.
Maybe not in those specific words, but I've heard very recently, and I don't need to name names, of people saying, "Yeah, I'm not unhappy with him losing."
But that's a different sentiment. That's a completely different sentiment.
It's just a different wording.
Yeah, no, because I don't think it is. There's a level of professionalism that comes with having the power to become a journalist.
I'm not saying people are being unprofessional about it. What I am saying is that you've got a guy who has never managed before, let alone in the Premier League. And I think there's a vulnerability there where Brentford, with respect, is a small club, massively punching.
Straight.
And, honestly, it's a compliment. It's a compliment to be where Brentford are. Again, I covered Brentford in the Championship, loved covering it. The Griffin Park was amazing. The new stadium is really good as well. But even the club and the story where they came from the third tier not that long ago, it's a brilliant story. I just think there are people, and it's a shame to hear that there's Brentford fans who are wanting to make things difficult when that's the last thing the club, not just Keith, but the club need right now, because they've got some difficult games.
I just think before a newspaper ever goes to print, you can go on social media. Very often, newspapers actually reflect what is being said by fans, by those people with the financial and the emotional investment in a football club. They reflect what is being said by those people on social media. And very often, it is the people who dictate what the newspapers do.
Do we want to reflect what's being said on social media?
Well, everyone has a phone. We are in a digital technological world.
Well, then you can find any topic or any.
You could do. But if you think about it, we are powered by fans. We are on a station powered by fans. It's all about the fans. It's all about their opinions. So this is what I mean in terms of the way that the media has shifted. And I just think, it's not yourself. It's not. Natalie, I hear sometimes I'm driving along and I hear people say, "Oh, the media are going to have a go with him tomorrow." What? You're doing it now, and I hear it all the time. It's really important for that to be a part of what our conversation is, so that everybody understands the power they have. Because all of us, when we have an opinion about something, it might be football, it might be comedy, it might be Ballon d'Or, we will all go on our phones and we will express that opinion. And when millions of people do it, suddenly you have a body of opinion. Very often it's a strong body of opinion. When you go onto social media and you see someone's name trending, it is generally because there is a strong body of opinion in one way or another geared towards that person or that issue. And so that's why I always say when I'm on here, it's my regular thing when people say the media.
No, Darren, you don't need to be defensive about the media. For someone to say the media will do this, well, that's a massive generalisation. The media is too big to put it under one umbrella. 100%. That's why I said parts of the media. There will be a part of the media which I didn't say the sort of size of the part or how big that would be, but you watch if and there's difficult games for Brentford coming up. If they go on a losing streak of 4 on the spin, you wait to see how things are going to be written with a rookie manager, where actually we've seen already him showing his tactical nails.
But written by whom? I mean, if you think about Brentford, right, and like you said, you made a really good point about the fact that Brentford are not Manchester United, so to be respectful to them. And now if you look at the focus on a lot of the big clubs, they're the ones where there's the most intensity. The smaller clubs, there's an understanding of the fact that they don't have the most resource. They often have their best players pinched away from them. We've been given the context about Wolves, Brentford and themselves, exactly. And other clubs they have their best players spirited away. Brighton, they've got to go again, time and again. So there is the understanding of that. So I don't think that people outside the club are going to be as harsh on a Brentford as they would be on a Chelsea, on an Arsenal, on a Liverpool, on a Manchester United, on a Manchester City. And not only that, but again, to underline, I have never, ever seen a journalist say, right, I'm going to wait, give it 4 games, give it 5 games, I'm going to get it. I've never seen it.
What I will say from the fans' perspective when it comes to Keith Andrews, I think the majority are still in favour. They want to give him time, see what he can do. But there are sections that are unhappy, especially when you lose in the manner that we did to your local rivals. It's just not gone down well.
That section has more power than us. That section of fans has more power than us. Because if they start protesting, like you mentioned about West Ham, if they start protesting at the stadium, it's not about what we do. It's what those fans do.
But what I was going to say is, Thomas Frank, it took him a lot longer to win his first game as the Brentford head coach than it has with Keith Andrews. So, you're going to have off days. Championship. Indeed. You're going to have off days. It's just how you bounce back from them. And we hope against Manchester United, live on game day on Saturday, you can find out. By the way, we were waiting to see who had won the women's Ballon d'Or. Bon Mati. For a 3rd successive year has done it, indeed. Yeah. You're tuning in to Kick Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gambleaware.org. Good evening. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. You're in the company of Darren Lewis, Scott Minto and Natalie Sawyer. And it's time now to look at the latest football action with Ladbrokes.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
And we have been waiting to see who was going to win the men's Ballon d'Or, and it has been announced. Do either of you listening in the break because you were chatting away?
No, I wasn't listening, but I'd be very surprised if it's not Dembele.
Yeah, I would have gone for him as well.
A winger scoring a hat load of goals to win the Champions League for
the triple.
The triple, of course. Yeah.
Well, you'll be right. Ousmane Dembele has won the Ballon d'Or.
Not Cole Palmer.
No, not Cole Palmer, who actually finished 8th in the top 10.
8th.
Nuno Mendes and Donnarumma were 9th and 10th, respectively.
Wow.
See, that's a left back again.
Mendes.
He not only did he win the treble, but he won the Nations League with Portugal as well.
Yeah, overlooked, I'm afraid. You need to be fighting the cause for the fullbacks.
I've tried.
Unfortunately, no. He has not. Finishing the top 10, though, pretty good. No?
So he should.
Yeah. And his partner on the opposite side, Hakimi, was 6th. Second was Lamine Yamal. Vitinha was 3rd. Mo Salah 4th. Rafinha 5th. And Kylian Mbappe was 7th, by the way. But Ousmane Dembele, you mentioned obviously winger, but a winger who also operated as a centre forward too. So
well, this was the wonderful thing about him.
Revolutionised by Enrique.
Enrique did an absolutely superb job with him. His output was fantastic. His consistency equally. I remember Kylian Mbappe saying that, because obviously they played together for France, and he said, I would drive it to his house. That's how good he has been this season. I've been nominated, but he deserves to win it. He has been absolutely devastating. You made the point, Scott, earlier that nobody would have tipped PSG to win in December last year, the Champions League.
Looked like they were going out at one stage.
Absolutely. But his goal return in that competition was outstanding. And the transformation to him from underachieving winger to high-achieving, high-performing, big game player with the consistency to match the very best in world football was simply magnificent. He's going to get the credit he deserves across Europe tomorrow.
And don't forget, Luis Enrique had a word with him, should we say, close to 12 months ago, because he wasn't doing exactly what his manager wanted. So off the pitch as well as on the pitch. And look, you've got to give Luis Enrique massive loads of credit for what's happened, but it's always down to the player, ultimately. Yeah. And for him to have had the season he's had, to move down the middle, to score the goals and lead his team to winning the treble.
Is there a player he reminds you of?
Have you got one in mind?
Well, to me, Salah is the obvious one, because Salah is a winger who had a high output, but the only difference between the two is that Salah played out wide, whereas Dembele's been doing it through the middle. And I think in terms of the way that he'd been underestimated by so many people, lots of people before this season had a perception of Dembele as being a player who was okay, but he'd been overshadowed by the glitterati at the clubs that he'd been at before, and even when they'd come across to PSG as well. So it's a really nice kind of arc for him, not only to win the Champions League, not only to win the treble, but to crown it as the best player in the world. It was always there. He just needed to step out of the shadow of those giants of football to be able to achieve it.
I don't know why, but the name Thierry Henry is coming to mind in terms of
similar
winger
sort of thing,
going to centre forwards, and yet I think Thierry Henry was a better player than Dembele, and yet he didn't win the Ballon d'Or. I mean, it's two pretty good reasons why he didn't, but I'd say it's like that. And obviously to go from a winger to a centre forward and score those amount of goals and lead the line, lead the press also, just off the ball as well as on the ball. For me, a worthy winner. But Lamine Yamal, I wonder how many he's going to win at the end of his career.
Yeah, he's got time.
He's got time.
Is fair to say. But we should say with Ousmane Dembele, he was the French League's Player of the Year and also the Champions League Player of the Year. So just a number of reasons as to why he has been chosen by the journalists as the men's Ballon d'Or winner of this year. I have some sources who are at this theatre where it's taking place. The Arsenal women who are there said to be fuming.
Really?
not happy with Bonmati winning the women's Ballon d'Or, which to a degree I understand.
Yeah.
Because as great as Bonmati is as a player, she only won the, I say only, but only won La Liga. And that's for a record 10th time that Barcelona have won it. So they're quite, old hat at winning that. Whereas the Arsenal team have won the Champions League, and some of those players have won the Euros as well.
Exactly.
It is a bit baffling.
I'd have understood if Caldente had won. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at least it would have been to Arsenal. Arsenal were the ones who had won the big European competition.
And they beat Barcelona in the final of the Champions League as well. So there's a number of reasons why you might understand how they're a little bit disappointed.
Leah Williamson for me.
Well, she would have been a worthy winner as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, defender.
Oh.
Won't go there.
Thank goodness it's Danny Murphy next time. We won't have all this. We'll just have the midfielder union.
Be careful, I tell you.
Oh, shh. Be careful what you wish for. That was all thanks to Ladbrokes' 18 Nova, gambleaware.org.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Well, it's gone really quick. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Next time, just be a bit earlier.
Well, I was going to say I only turned up for half of it, but it was all right. I did turn up for.
Darren Scott as well. You did a great deputising.
Thank you very much. Come off the bench. Not
deputising for me or for Danny?
Well, you're the finisher, obviously, for this show.
I'm the finisher.
Anyway.
I'm the
Brilliant. On the way next, of course, it's the Sports Bar with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy. Get your calls into them. 03717 22 3344.